is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
That we're all thinking, gotta shout it out while we're around. We've been hit so hard that we're still reeling. We've been taken down, not taken out. Let me hear you make some noise. All we have is this moment now. Come on, let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take a chance. So many times that we trusted and got burned, we get back up on our feet again. Learn my lessons till my fingers bleed, but it's worth it when we take the stage. Let me hear you make some noise. All we have is this moment now. Come on, let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose.
Hi, I'm Tony Grimm and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio. Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 2019 IAME Euro Series season commencement. It is the glorious sunny day here in March that greets us at the Karting de Fagnes at Mariembourg in Belgium for the 2019 Champions of the Future IAME X30 Euro Series. Jake Sanson here, trackside at Mariembourg for what promises to be a sensational weekend of racing. 22 heats over the course of the day, 10 for the seniors, 6 for the juniors, and then 3 apiece for the mini and shifter categories. We have got some fantastic motor racing in front of us as we get ourselves ready for some spectacular motorsport over the course of the 2019 season opener. It's going to be the seniors that kickstart us with an amazing group of drivers over the course of the categories, and we have some absolutely sensational racing ahead of us. The best of the best from all corners of the globe have come to the Belgian circuit here this weekend to kickstart their international karting season. They come from far and wide, from all over Europe, a strong Belgian contingent, of course, being on their home turf, but they have come from far and wide, from France, Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Scandinavia, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Great Britain, and even further afield from the Americas, Asia, into the Africas, and into the Pacific Ocean. Amazing drivers from all corners of the globe have come here to go racing, and it's going to be an absolutely sensational battle now that we are into the main body of action. Yesterday's time qualifying sessions told us some very interesting signs of what we're going to get from this 2019 season. A lot of improved drivers, a lot of new faces, and we're going to see the same corners and the same commandment from the front end of the field as many drivers continue to prove their worth over the course of this weekend. We start with the seniors, as we mentioned. And the first heat will obviously give us Group A and B going together. And I do believe it is the very first time we had a pole position from the Estonian Rimo Kadapik in the entirety of his IAME Euro Series career. The Estonian bagged pole position yesterday after a sensational qualifying session which saw just 5 drivers duck under the 56-second barrier. Alongside him on the grid is last year's junior champion in the Euro Series, Lewis Gilbert, who has switched to the Persistence Motorsport team for the 2019 season, but he's lost none of his speed. He's there on the front row of the grid with Rimo Kadapik. The former world champion, Danny Curl, will line up in third position on the grid, along with Clayton Ravenscroft, who was last year's Winter Cup champion and third in the overall championship. The third row of the grid will see Jordan Brown-Nutley, one of Britain's biggest stalwarts in the class, alongside the local hero Matteo Raspatelli, who's done a fantastic job from the third row of the grid. Ruben Moya and Matilda Olsen will find themselves together on the grid on row 4. And then rounding up the top 10, it is Thomas Fleming and Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz. So there's a lot of strong driving talent in this particular field. There's so many competitors in this particular grid, and a lot of them will all want to go for the W here in the first race of the day. You're watching the local talent there in the pits, Laurent Renarts. There is Enzo Juliet, the young man from Montpellier who won the final last year in junior and has stepped up into senior. So obviously he will want to continue his form from last season, having been a junior winner. There's plenty of drivers in the holding area getting themselves ready for the next heat. It's obviously very stringent this season, everybody wanting to go for a really strong performance over the course of the season. And there's going to be some absolutely sensational driving talents here today. So what you can expect to see over the course of the next few hours is pretty simple. There are 22 heats in total, starting with the seniors, and we will have Kadapik and Gilbert, Danny Curl and Clayton Ravenscroft, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Matteo Raspatelli leading us off. Already great to see nearly 100 people on the live stream already. Alessandro Serenetti is watching. Come on, Sam Shaw. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes in the juniors a little bit later on. Good to see everybody putting in such a fine performance already, as everybody is obviously wanting to put on the best possible show in this first weekend of the championship. A big shout out to Max and Mark as well. So Mum is watching from home. Good luck today with all of the races from ZM on the YouTube stream. Hello to you. It's going to be fantastic racing, and you have definitely chosen the right television to watch today as they head out onto the grid for this first X30 senior race of the day. Let's talk you through the grid. Rimo Kadapik and Lewis Gilbert from the front row of the grid, from Danny Curl and Clayton Ravenscroft. Jordan Brown-Nutley and Matteo Raspatelli from Ruben Moya and Matilda Olsen, with Thomas Fleming and Juan Carlos Hernandez rounding out the top 10. Then it's Georgi Dimitrov and Jan Kalmet from Guillermo de Oliveira and Kevin Stahauer, Roman Leroux and Liam Hezemans from Hans Morin and Harry Platten, Kobe Powells and Bo Heymans, then Jack Deacon and Henke Kalteren. Robin Knudsen is alongside Lauren Reynards from Will Orton and Enzo Juliet. Alicia Barrett is beside Mathieu Herbe, and then Rufus Hunt, Roman Tavitian, Sandro Ritz and Thomas Tavitian. So the drivers getting themselves ready for the action. It is 11 laps around this circuit. A very fast and twisty circuit, the Mariembourg circuit. The start is characterised with several long straights into that very tight and twisty midfield section, with corner after corner, and you chuck the kart through the apexes before coming out of that final turn and into the long start straight. But Rimo Kadapik looks very dialed in for this round of the championship. He looks really, really strong at the sharp end. So far, so good as far as he is concerned. The character and the nature of this circuit is very competitive and very strong. So we will see some really good action from him coming into this first race of the season. The drivers are getting themselves dialed in, warming up the tyres and brakes and getting everything up to temperature. Obviously, the new regulation this year, of course, is that they're not allowed to rev the engines in the paddocks, so the drivers will only have had a little bit of time to keep the engines running in the holding area in Parc Fermé, essentially, before they come to the grid. The good thing is, of course, it hasn't changed a thing. The drivers who are competitive are still competitive and at the sharp end, and it all comes down to the great talent of the drivers out on the circuit. So it's time to get racing underway as we have Kadapik and Gilbert at the front end from Danny Curl and Clayton Ravenscroft, Brown-Nutley, Raspatelli, Moya, Olsen, Fleming and Hernandez, then Dimitrov, Kalmet, de Oliveira, Stahauer, Leroux, Hezemans, Morin, Platin, Powells, Heymans, Deacon, Kalteren, Knudsen, Reynards, Orton, Juliet, Barrett, Erb, Hunt, Tavitian, Ritz and Thomas Tavitian. And this is the race I have literally been looking forward to since last September when we wrapped up the 2018 season. This is what we've all been waiting for. 6 months of waiting for the new season are now finally at an end as the drivers come up to the grid. Looks as though we got problems already, though. That is a breakdown by the look of it for Kobe Powells. Kobe Powells is in trouble. And are we going to go racing regardless? Yes, we do. Away we go. Fantastic start on the inside line there from Caterpillar. Danny Curl goes with him, but it's a disaster for Kobe Powells. Unfortunately, the local hero is in major trouble. The CV Performance car has broken down before the start of the first race of the season. Absolute disaster for Kobe Powells, but Caterpillar has led away cleanly with Danny Curl in second position up to third place. That looks to the yellow flag already, of course, but that is for Kobe Powells' kart. But what a shock for the local hero. It couldn't have been any worse luck than that for the first race of the season as Danny Curl goes to battle as he charges after Rimo Caterpillar. You can see Rimo there proudly wearing the colours of his FIA Karting Academy suit. He was selected for Estonia a couple of seasons back, and he still wears that suit with pride. But the Ice Racing driver leads the way. Danny Curl in second position. That is Jordan Brown-Nutley in third place, charging his way forward. And up into the first corner they go. The leading three absolutely together as they run through. Ruben Moya in fourth place from Ravenscroft. Gilbert, Fleming and Matilda Olsen. Then Hernandez, Dimitrov, Raspatelli and Kalmer. De Oliveira, Morin and Stahauer with Jack Deacon in front of Harry Platten. Just the one retirement so far, and unfortunately that is Kobe Powells. What a shame for the Belgian. His entire weekend now compromised from a DNF. But out in front, it is still a fantastic scrap. Lewis Gilbert appears to have fallen quite a way down the order. He is now in, I think that makes him 7th position. Oh no, my apologies. He has fought his way back into P9, actually. No, I was looking at the wrong person. So Lewis Gilbert has now dropped a little way further from that front row starting position. But it is the new leader, and that is Danny Curl. He has found his way past, as has Jordan Brown-Nutley. So they come through at the end of lap 2. And it's Danny Curl versus Jordan Brown-Nutley. Rimo Caterpillar in P3, and that's a move for fourth place from Ravenscroft up the inside. As the lead changes, Jordan Brown-Nutley grabs the lead and goes into first position in front of Danny Curl. So it's Brown-Nutley now leading from Danny Curl and Rimo Caterpillar. Clayton Ravenscroft up into fourth place past Ruben Moya. And in sixth position, I do believe that is Matilda Olsen. Yes, indeed, the 300, just a whisker in front of 404. Thomas Fleming, the BMR driver, who is having a great job on the Zenon chassis and still going very strong at the sharp end of the field. So far, so good for the rest of the field. But the top 5 have well and truly broken clear. Danny Curl trying to stretch away as Clayton Ravenscroft has now gone into third place, having moved up past Rimo Caterpillar. So it is now 3 Brits in the top 3. It is Jordan Brown-Nutley from Danny Curl and Clayton Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft wanting to charge after the leading pair. But clearly, Danny Curl for the Birolart Middle East squad wants to take the challenge to Strawberry Racing's Jordan Brown-Nutley as they come down the main straight once again and into the first corner. 4 laps done. 3 laps done, my apologies. Jordan Brown-Nutley still leads the way from Danny Curl. Third, Clayton Ravenscroft. Then Caterpillar. Then it is Ruben Moya from Fleming, Olsen, Dimitrov, Hernandez and Raspatelli still here in the top 10 for the moment. But Raspatelli hanging on by a thread as some very feisty drivers are trying to play catch-up after a difficult qualifying session. But the leading 3 are breaking clear. Ruben Moya looks like he's trying to threaten Rimo Caterpillar. And in 6th place, that is now still, I think that's Georgi Dimitrov, actually having made his way past both Fleming and Olsen. So Olsen is down to 8th position. Dimitrov has come up to 6th. And Fleming is still there in 7th position in front of Hernandez and Raspatelli. Gilbert's having a really difficult race at the moment, down to 12th behind Jan Kalmet. So some big problems there. But Jordan Brown-Nutley is back in front of Danny Curl, having done so earlier on in the race, of course. And still he holds the advantage. So Danny Curl now trying to tie up for a move on the inside of Jordan Brown-Nutley. If not going for the move, no, he's not. Because he wants to try and get away from the man behind him, Clayton Ravenscroft, who is always a threat. Ravenscroft's going to dive for the inside of Danny Curl into turn 2 and get second position. Good move from Ravenscroft, but Danny Curl is going to come straight back at him. And so far for Caterpillar, he's been able to hang on in front of Moya. Then it is Dimitrov, Fleming, Olsen, and in 9th place, that looks to me like Raspatelli now in front of Gilbert and Kalmet. Juan Carlos Hernandez has lost out. Hans Morin in 13th. And then we've got 14th place for Platten from De Oliveira, Stahauer, Deacon, Heimans, LaRue, Kalteran, and Robin Knudsen. Will Orton is in the mix there as well. Now Kobe Powells has got the card going again. I've just seen him go through. So Kobe Powells has got the card back to the pit lane, and is still going. So he obviously wants to get some running in to get himself ready for his second and third heats later on in the day. But it's a disaster as Ravenscroft has now hit the front. Ravenscroft has hit the front in front of Brown Nutley. Brown Nutley's going to try again. Ravenscroft chops across. Danny Curl has nowhere to run, and Caterpick tries to come up the inside of Danny Curl. A bit of a squabble now as Caterpick goes for a late lunge on Danny Curl and nudges him. And that's put Danny Curl wide down to about 7th place. Caterpick trying to go for the lunge, and it looked to me as though he just ran out of road, and Danny Curl comes off worse. Now Curl chops across Matilda Olsen, trying to keep her at bay. Goodness me, that got a little bit frenetic. And now Georgi Dimitrov is trying to come for the move as Dimitrov tries to go through on the inside of Ruben Moya. But Ravenscroft now leads Jordan Brown Nutley. Danny Curl is down to about 6th position. Frustrated now, Danny Curl. But Rimo Kadovic is into 3rd. Not for long because Rimo Kadovic's been taken on there, I think, by Ruben Moya. That's either going to be Moya or Dimitrov who's made his way through. We'll double check as they come over the line, but it's definitely Ravenscroft from Brown Nutley now. And in 3rd place, that is Ruben Moya. So Ruben Moya has got himself into P3 there on the Paralin chassis. A good performance there from Ruben. But now it is going to be an interesting battle for the lower positions further back as Danny Curl has got Matilda Olsen up the inside. Olsen makes the move and gets into 7th place. Good move from Matilda Olsen, who is having a really strong start to her season. Race winner in the heats in Valencia and back at the sharp end again in 2019. Good work from the Swede. But up at the front end of the field, it is still Clayton Ravenscroft in front of Jordan Brown Nutley. 3rd place now, the Paralin of Ruben Moya. Then Fleming, Kadopic, Dimitrov, Olsen, Curl, Gilbert and Raspatelli. That's your top 10. So Clayton Ravenscroft just holding on to his advantage, having knit his way into the lead fairly sharpish. He wants to have a much stronger weekend than Valencia turned out to be. He still wound up on the podium, of course, don't forget. 3rd overall. But he won that event last year, and he wants to win the title this year in the full championship. Down the straight, Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley in his wheel tracks. Ruben Moya there in 3rd place from Fleming, Kadopic. Fleming, Dimitrov, then Kadopic. Olsen and up the inside. That's a move from Raspatelli, I do believe. That's Platten. That's Platten on the inside of the 382 of Hernandez. So Platten moving up into 13th place. Some good moves in the midfield as drivers squabbling away. Danny Curl trying to hold off Lewis Gilbert on the way through to the S's. Here they come. That's Kadopic, Olsen, Curl, and Gilbert. Absolutely locked together, those 4. Olsen's going to try and make a bid to get past Kadopic. Is not going to make the move there into the right-hander. But Curl and Gilbert are getting frustrated, sat behind her. Meanwhile, Ravenscroft, he's being reeled in now by Jordan Brown Nutley. Jordan Brown Nutley, definitely the danger man in this race. With 3 laps to go at the end of this one, it's going to be very tight to see how this one plays out. But Jordan Brown Nutley giving plenty of pressure to the race leader, Clayton Ravenscroft, as they come down the straight and over the tram lines once again into the first corner. 3 laps to go as they know. Jordan Brown Nutley all over the back of Ravenscroft. There's a magnificent squabble in the midfield. Danny Curl has really lost out to several drivers. He's going to lose 1 or 2 places there in the mid-pack. The former world champion really struggling. He's lost out to one of the Alonso chassis. Now that is the 382 of Hernandez, but Danny Curl manages to defend before he loses out to the 337 of Guillermo de Oliveira. So a really difficult race it's turned out to be for Danny Curl. We've got a yellow flag as we've had an off at turn 1. That, unfortunately, is Roman Tavitian. So one of the local drivers, Roman Tavitian, is out of the race. He doesn't quite know what's gone on there. I have a feeling, because he's facing the wrong way, he must have got hit into there at the first corner, or he's come off the circuit in some way, but the kart is facing up the straight. So it's not a mechanical failure. Something has gone wrong for Roman Tavitian, and the yellow flags will wave as they come down the main straight. But it's Ravenscroft leading Brown Nutley. 3rd place for Ruben Moya. Fleming is 4th, then Dimitrov. And then the battle for 6th position behind is getting fairly frenetic as Olsen has now got past Kadopic. Here's Brown Nutley. Still all over the back of Ravenscroft. Brown Nutley's really pounding in those sector times. He really wants a piece of this man in front, Ravenscroft. He wants to go for the victory. But for Roman Tavitian, the local man, he is out of the race, unfortunately, after an off at turn 1. So he is actually the race's first retirement because Kobe Powells has got going again, a lap behind the field. So he is still going, Kobe Powells. There he comes over the line. So Kobe Powells continues on his way round, but these guys are still battling for the lead. And watch for Ruben Moya. Ruben Moya is catching the 2 leaders as they come up towards the final lap. They will come through the final corner now and back onto the home stretch. There's a little chicane, but it doesn't really change the straightness of it. Warning flag goes out to Rimo Kadopic. Now, the last lap begins. Remo Kadapik has been given a black and white warning flag. Now, I believe a warning flag this year comes with a 5-second penalty from what I heard in the briefing yesterday. I'll have to confirm that one, but that could be a big problem for Remo Kadapik as these three continue to battle out in the lead of the race. Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley and Ruben Moya. So it is going to be a really exciting challenge as they move forward, but the battle is really intense on the way through the chicane. But I think Brown Nutley is not quite going to be able to get one over on Ravenscroft. He might be willing to take the second place and get those points banked for the races later on. But for Clayton Ravenscroft, it is a sensational start to the day. And coming through from P4 on the grid, he has got himself into the perfect position and driven his way to the lead. Clayton Ravenscroft opens his account with a victory in the first race. Perfect start for Ravenscroft. Brown Nutley in second place. Ruben Moya is third. Thomas Fleming in P4 from Georgia Dimitrov and Matilda Olsen. That's your top six. Just behind them, it's going to be Gilbert Morin, Raspatelli and Remo Kadapik. But what a sensational race and a great battle comes to an end there for Clayton Ravenscroft. He gets a sensational race victory. I'm not quite sure why the timing screen tells you that Will Orton has taken the victory. As much as I would like to say he's won it, it's actually Clayton Ravenscroft who has done so. But a fantastic drive from the KR Sport star, as once again he leads by example and puts himself into the top of the tree. It's going to be a strange weekend with Clayton Ravenscroft in the squad, but no Joe Turney this weekend. He's racing elsewhere. But we're sure to see him back, I'm no doubt, in time for the second round at Castelletto. But there's your confirmation. It's actually Clayton Ravenscroft who's taken the victory. I'm not sure why it says Will Orton, but it's Clayton Ravenscroft from Jordan Brown Nutley and Ruben Moya, Tom Fleming and Georgia Dimitrov, Matilda Olsen and Lewis Gilbert, then Hans Morin, Matteo Raspatelli and Remo Kadapik in the top 10. Then it's Juan Carlos Hernandez, Jan Calmet and Roman Leroux, Harry Platin and Bo Hymans, Guillermo de Oliveira, Henke Kalteren, Danny Curl tumbling all the way to 18th place in the end, Robin Knudsen, and then Will Orton is 20th, in fact. Then Jack Deacon, Rufus Hunt, Kevin Stahauer and Lauren Reynards. Then Liam Heseman, Enzo Juliet, Thomas Devitian, Alicia Barrett, Sandro Ritz, and Mathieu Herbe, with Kobe Powles running a lap down and Roman Devitian retiring with 3 laps to go. So it is the local man, Roman Devitian, who is being recovered. A very good race for Clayton Ravenscroft and for the Brits. It's a perfect start as far as they are concerned. A really exciting battle. So a really good opening gambit then for the seniors. And a really strong battle in the offing for a lot of the drivers out there. But race 1 was a very exciting affair. And hopefully race 2 is only just going to keep getting better as things continue. So we've got plenty of people watching along on the stream now. Hello to all of those of you watching on the live stream. Alex Goldschmidt says, the very best of luck to the Brits, including Clayton, Lewis and Jordan. Well, Clayton and Jordan were first and second in that previous race. Lewis Gilbert did a fair job in that one as well, although he didn't quite finish up where he wanted to from that first race. There is Roman Tavitian coming in, and it looks as though he's got another driver there with him. Oh, no, sorry, that's one of the recovery crew. My apologies. A very good team of safety crew around the Mariembourg circuit. A lot of great improvements have been made to the circuit after last season as well. Full credit to Karting de Fagnes. The track was pretty good last year. It's even better this year, and the entire team have been very warm and welcoming to the IAME Euro Series. And it's great to be back in Belgium once again. We've really enjoyed things. So now we go from qualifying heat for Groups A and B to the qualifying heat for Groups C and D. And that puts another of the talented Spaniards in the field on pole position, Philip Vava, who's done a fantastic job since changing across to the KR Sport team. It's really improved his game, and he seems to be absolutely on it at the moment. Eli Goldstein, one of the local talents and very much one of the heroes of the country, is here. He did such a good job, if you remember, last year in his first campaign as a senior. He has a year of experience in this class behind him now, so he's definitely a contender to win on home soil. And then second row of the grid is the Spanish superstar Mari Boya, and that is Mark Kimber that's going to be alongside him. Mark Kimber, of course, the reigning Euro Series champion. The next race kicking off in the space of the next 5 minutes. So it gives us enough time to talk you through the rest of the grid. Alex Lloyd is back in the Euro Series paddock again. He was the vice champion in the juniors last year. This year, he steps up as a senior and has been electrifying straight out the block. Angus Mulsdale has done a good job this time and finds himself on the third row of the grid on the Kart Republic chassis in sixth position for this one. There's your timetable for the day. We've obviously had the first of the Senior A and B heat, and then every race after that basically follows in 20-minute increments. So we're about to get Senior Heat C and D. The junior categories will come after that at 10:50 local time and 11:10 local time, as it were. Depending on where you're watching in the world, you have to take away or add an hour or so. The minis will come out at 11:30 local time. The shifters for the first time, as Thierry Del Rey goes to defend his crown. And then we have Senior AE and Senior B and C as they continue. That will take us through, I believe, to our lunch hour. Yes, that's the morning activity. So that's your timetable for the day. And that's certainly for the morning session. You'll get to see plenty of great racers over the course of the morning. All of them will get to race at least once over the course of the morning, so plenty of opportunity for you to shout and cheer for your particular hero. And you can go along and watch us on the live stream, of course, and send us a message if you want to. Lester So, who has been a racer in this paddock before, had said, Eduardo Cosseteng, he is my boy and he's going to win. To be fair, the Filipino racer has done a very good job this weekend. He's looking so much more dialed in than he has done at this same point in the weekend in previous meetings. This time, Eduardo Cosseteng looks very confident, Lester, so I think you've done a good job backing him for this particular one. And hopefully we'll see Lester So back in the IAME Euro Series paddock at some point. The Hong Kong star has been very good in the past, and hopefully we'll see him return to action once again. It always thrills me and really pleases me to see a lot of the drivers who have either aspire to be in this grid or have raced in this grid before still pay a massive amount of attention to it and watch along wherever they are in the world, wherever they're competing. And it's great to see just how much of a following the IAME Euro Series is garnering wherever we are in the world. So it's Vava and Goldstein on the front row for this one, Boyer and Kimber, Lloyd and Mulsdale. Behind them is the long-awaited debut in X30 Senior in the IAME Euro Series for Callum Bradshaw. There's been a heck of a lot of talk on social media and on the internet about this lad coming to the series. He's going in with Fusion Motorsport. He wants to go for the title. He genuinely thinks it's doable. And of course, as a former junior world champion, everybody will be keeping an eye out for him. 7th on the grid for this first heat. He can win from there. Don't forget that he's gone the inside line for this particular heat. So he is definitely one to keep an eye on. Alongside him on the grid is the very talented Italian Leonardo Gaglioni. And then we have Nick Schmidt and Jort Koen, an all-Dutch 5th row of the grid to round out the top 10. Here they come out of the grid. Keep an eye on that man, the 367 Eli Goldstein, alongside the 350 for KR Sport, Philip Vava on pole position. Let's talk you through the grid. Philip Vava and Eli Goldstein on the front row from Marty Boyer and Mark Kimber. Then it is Alex Lloyd and Angus Mulsdale from Callum Bradshaw and Leonardo Gaglioni. And then Nick Schmidt and Jort Koen in the top 10. Sam Balota lines up beside Ivan Bataya. Watch for Sam Balota. He was a highly rated junior and he is one of the local favourites. Then it is Niels Kulin along with Erbelts Moore of Spain. Eduardo Cosseteng is on the 8th row of the grid alongside Jana Guvarts, another of the Belgian locals. Danny Bunshu of Switzerland is beside the Jordanian Manaf Hijawi for Biralat Middle East. Then Tom Nellison and Sim Liedmar round out the top 20. Alexander Wang of Singapore will line up beside the German Linus Janssen. Then Guillaume Crespin will be beside Rasmus Janssen of Sweden. Then the very talented Dutch lady Nina Pothoff will be beside Gerard Tinoco. And then we have Alex Pendlebury, who joins Casper Janssen on the 14th row of the grid. And then we finish it off with Dan Steenman, Paul Javier Lopez, Rivki Rakamolia, and Eric Müller. So they go around for their second of 2 formation laps. And for Philip Vava, this is a bit of a coming-of-age moment. He's been a very talented racer and competitor, but he's not really had the luck go his way too many times. So we'll see how it goes. Watching on the YouTube stream is World Challenger. He says, Sim Liedmar, 20 to first, easy. Well, he's definitely made light work of it in the past, and Liedmar did not have the greatest of qualifying sessions yesterday. He got caught out in traffic, and I was talking to him yesterday, and he said he didn't really get a clean lap. So hopefully he's going to have an amazing charge through the field, and Sim Liedmar is definitely one of those drivers that you have to keep an eye on. Don't forget his teammate Rimo Kadapik bagged his first pole position in Senior X30 yesterday. So we'll see how the Ike's Racing boys go. And I have to say, the Ike's Racing team is definitely punching very much above its previous weight it's shown and is looking like a world-class team this year. They've always been a strong competitive squad, but now this year they've really taken a bit of a leap forward. So we could see those guys battling for more than one victory this year. But for this heat, it's Vava and Goldstein on the front row, from Boyer and Kimber, Lloyd and Mulsdale, Bradshaw and Calione, Schmidt and Kuhn, and there's plenty of drivers outside that top 10 who will want to charge their way through. The trap lines look very well formed. All they have to do is keep their pace. It's up to Vava and Goldstein to control the pace as they come up to the corridors. They're going to get on the throttle. Is this going to be a clean start? Yes, it is, and away we go. Cracking start from Marty Boyer. Tucks in behind Philippe Vava, and the two Spaniards lead away. Third position. That is a cracking start for Alex Lloyd. He's come up and on the inside of Marty Boyer straight away. Alex Lloyd gets into second position and up to third. That is the 301 of Mark Kimber, the reigning champion, and into the wall has gone the 361, unfortunately. It's all gone wrong for Alexander Wang. So the Singaporean has hit the wall and is out of the race. And it looks like one of the Birolart carts is there at the back of the field in trouble, having gone in with him potentially as well. That is the 371 that's been in trouble. That's Manaf Hijawi. So Manaf Hijawi and Alex Wang were close to each other on the grid. So Hijawi has dropped to the back and Alex Wang has gone into the barriers at turn 1. What a shame. But out in front, it is Philippe Vava who leads the way from Alex Lloyd and Mark Kimber, with Marty Boyer there in fourth position. They come through over the line once again. A really exciting battle. Over the line, here comes Philippe Vava. Second position is Alex Lloyd. There was a bit of a doubt as to whether Alex Lloyd would even be racing in the IAME Euro Series this year, but I was delighted to see him on the entry list midweek when I realised he was coming back. It's great to see him at the sharp end in senior as he was in junior last year. Vava leads the way, Lloyd in second, but watch out for Mark Kimber. He is the European Series champion from last year. Third position for Strawberry Racing, and he is there in the 301. He wants to retain his title. But fourth place is the Spanish stallion, Mari Boyer, as into second goes Mark Kimber. Alexander Wang walks away from his cart, but at the midsection of the course, Mark Kimber has gone into second position, has made the move on Alex Lloyd. There he is. He's gone through and in behind Philippe Vava. So into second goes Mark Kimber. Lloyd is third. Mari Boyer is in fourth position. And in fifth place now, that looks to me like Callum Bradshaw. So Bradshaw is in the mix already. We expected him to be one of the underdogs for this first weekend of the season. He knew he was going to have to do things by halves. As up the inside goes Boyer. Makes the move on Alex Lloyd. Great work from Marty Boyer. I look at many drivers across Europe, and of the Spanish contingent, I just see Marty Boyer as a future Formula One superstar. Oh, Kimber makes the move on Vava. Kimber makes the move on Vava up the road. He came from a long way back up the inside, and Kimber dives through. Mark Kimber takes the lead in Heat 2. Absolutely terrific run from Kimber. So now it's going to be a really tight battle at the front end of the field as there's more overtaking moves. So that's Philippe Vava in second place, Boyer in third, Lloyd in fourth, Bradshaw in fifth. Who's that that's come up to sixth position? That looks to me like, again, one of the Chaos Sports chassis. It might be Eli Goldstein, actually. I'm looking from a distance and can't quite see who that is from this point. But we'll see again as up the inside. That is a change further back. I think that is going to be... Well, I couldn't quite tell who that was from that position. I thought it was Leonardo Calione making the move, but Calione is now behind Goldstein. So it's Kimber, Vava, Boyer, Lloyd, Bradshaw. Then it is Eli Goldstein from Kuhlen, Schmidt, Calione, Mulsdale, Kuhn, Balota, Bataya, Erbeltmoor, and Danny Bundschuh. And that's Marty Boyer making his way past his countrymen. So Marty Boyer up to second, past Philippe Vava. Oh, and there's contact further back. Contact further back. We've had one of the Kart Republic chassis come to a stop after turn 3 and out of the race. Big damage. Two other karts in there as well. So we've got several karts in trouble, unfortunately. That's the Treble 3 and 363 have come together. Unfortunately, that is Angus Morsdale and Jort Kuhn. And I think Leonardo Calione is in the mix there as well. Yes, there's his kart. So some of the big names in the top 10 there. That's Calione, Morsdale and Kuhn. They've all gone. What a disaster. Mulsdale and Jort Kuhn have got going again, but for Leonardo Calione, it's game over, and he's so frustrated. Meanwhile, Callum Bradshaw has stepped up his game. He's got past Vava, he's got past Lloyd. So Callum Bradshaw is now into third position. Brilliant work from the Fusion driver. Further back, there's still some good overtaking moves. It's up the inside. That is Eli Goldstein. Goldstein makes the move on Philippe Vava. So Goldstein up into P5. So the Belgian on home soil has come through into P5 there. And they're being hustled now by Niels Kuhlen, who is in 7th place. So Niels Kuhlen, the Dutchman, having a much better run here in P7. The field is still squabbling around a bit. A lot more activity and action. Oh, we've had another incident at the same point. Turn 3. That, unfortunately, is a spin. Now, whether he was helped there or not, I'm not sure. But Gerard Tinoco has gone around there. So Gerard Tinoco goes around and drops to the back of the field. But out in front, it is still going strong for Mark Kimber. Marty Boyer in second, but being caught by Callum Bradshaw as we now have 6 laps to go. A lot of drama in this one, that is for sure. But Mark Kimber out in front of Marty Boyer. Callum Bradshaw in third. Then it's Alex Lloyd, Philip Vava, Niels Coughlan now back in front of Eli Goldstein. But the top 7 have broken well clear of the rest of the field. Behind them it is the Praga of Ivan Bataya, who is in 8th position. Then it's Sam Balota and Danny Bunchu, although Bunchu has now got past the Belgian. So Sam Balota, let's look back and find them. There they are. In 11th place, that looks to me like Oberts Moore in the Evolution kart. And then it's Linus Janssen, Alex Pendlebury, Tom Nellison, Nick Schmidt and Siem Liedmar, who has made his way to 16th place. So he's made up a few places, but that's not the progress he wanted to make. So the only 2 retirements from the race at this point are Alexander Wang and, unfortunately, the Italian Leonardo Caglioni, who was right in the battle for the top 10. Devastating start to his weekend. Here they come, down the straight, and it's Kimber out in front of Marty Boyer and Callum Bradshaw. Bradshaw's really putting in some speed now to close up on Marty Boyer and taking the 4 karts behind with him. Lloyd, Vava, Coughlan and Goldstein. So the top 7 have broken well clear of the rest of the field. Goldstein's still there in 7th, but seems to have lost out a little to that man, Niels Coughlan, who's all over the back of Philip Vava on the KR Sport machine. So they come through up towards the S's. It's Kimber from Boyer and Bradshaw. Bradshaw looking very hungry in behind Marty Boyer. A lot has been written about Marty Boyer as a potential future Fernando Alonso. And he's there in 2nd position. Don't forget, this is only his 2nd IAME Euro Series meeting as a senior. And he's right there in 2nd behind last year's champion, Mark Kimber. So this is absolutely fantastic from Marty Boyer. He's been here since his days as a junior in 2017. And this is his 3rd season in the IAME Euro Series paddock. Marty Boyer, he's become one of the stars of the show. And he's watching out with Callum Bradshaw. Bradshaw's going to make a very late lunge and goes into 2nd place. Beautiful move from Callum Bradshaw. That was a lovely bit of driving. Dived in for the first corner. Oh, that was a bold move. But Bradshaw making light work of it. That was sweet. Into 2nd place and now chasing after the European champion, Mark Kimber, in the lead of the race. So it's Kimber, Bradshaw, Boyer, Vava, Lloyd. Now down behind Niels Coughlan, in fact. And then 7th place, it's Eli Goldstein. Looks as though we got a warning flag for a couple of drivers. One of them is the 363. Now that is Jort Kuhn. And the other one is 381, Leonardo Caglioni. Well, he's already out of the race. So that's obviously for that little misdemeanor we had earlier on. But Mark Kimber, thanks to that move from Bradshaw, has got a massive advantage with 3 laps to go. So the drivers are going to continue on their way, battling down the main straight. Kimber's got a good lead here over Bradshaw. That's going to be hard to catch up to. But Bradshaw may get some assistance from Marty Boyer and Philip Vava here. Niels Coughlan in 5th. 6th is Goldstein now. Alex Lloyd down to 7th. So Goldstein putting on the speed once again. I wonder if Alex Lloyd has a tyre issue. Did he push that set of tyres just a little too hard in the start, maybe? Is that where the pace is fading? It's very easy to do. Either that or the others have just been looking after theirs a little bit better. And that's where they're able to get the run. You've got to remember, it's a bit it's a very dry start to the day. 10 degrees air temperature, so it's still quite chilly. But that means the track temperature is going to be about 13 to 14 degrees. By the time we get to midday, we reckon it's going to get to about 18 or 19 degrees. So it is going to get quite warm over the course of the day here. But Philip Vava has caught right up to his countryman Marty Boyer. He may go for the move in the last couple of laps. Let's not forget that now with Kimber out in front, he's running so brilliantly. So Kimber is doing a fine job. 2nd place, Bradshaw. 3rd place, that is Marty Boyer in front of Philip Vava. Vava has Niels Coughlan all over the back of him now. Goldstein 6th and Lloyd 7th. The battle for 8th place is absolutely electric further back. There's 3 of them in the mix there. That is Bunchu, Bataya and Balota. All of them scrappling away. Bataya having to wrestle back his position, having lost out to the 353 of Linus Janssen, the German, who's making his way back into the top 10, trying to at least. But Ivan Bataya got him back to hold on to that 10th place spot. But it's still Boyer, Vava and Coughlan's fighting over 3rd position. And this man, Mark Kimber, has pulled out the fastest lap at exactly the right moment to get away from the rest of the pack. 56.011 from Mark Kimber. And he needed to do that at that point. Now, these 3 are going to scrap over 3rd place. You can sense it, can't you? Boyer, Vava and Niels Coughlan are going to come together as they go into the final lap. Kimber very fine in 1st position. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there for the 2 Spaniards. And round the outside, that could be Niels Coughlan trying to squeeze in on Vava. He backs out of it. but he's going to try and go the long way round as the two Spaniards duel over third place. Eli Goldstein now joining the battle as well. Kimber's safe in first, Bradshaw safe in second, but third position is up for grabs as Marty Boyer desperately tries to hang on in front of Vava, Coolan, Goldstein and Alex Lloyd. But Boyer just about hanging on in there for the moment. Is Philip Vava going to have to make a big lunge to keep Coolan at bay? Goldstein's going to make the lunge and get into fifth position. Yes, he does. Coolan on the grass very briefly, and that's enough for Alex Lloyd to have a look, but doesn't get through. Meanwhile, though, out in front, it is going to be Mark Kimber who takes the victory. An absolutely sensational battle as they come down the main straight this time. Mark Kimber, the European champion, is going to open his account this weekend with a win. It's going to be side by side for third, we think. But Kimber's going to get the flag. Bradshaw, a brilliant second place. And third is just going to be Marty Boyer in front of Philip Vava, Eli Goldstein, Niels Coolan and Alex Lloyd. Wow, Mark Kimber doing a sensational job opening his account in fine style. Looks as if we had an off on the last lap, actually, as well. One of them has not come through. I think it's Linus Janssen, actually. Linus Janssen has not come through. So he was battling away in the top 10 there with the likes of Balota, Bunshu and Bataya. And Linus Janssen has only now just come through in 25th. Looks as though somebody else hasn't come through. That might be a big problem for Paul Javier Lopez. So Paul Javier Lopez having an off there at turn 2. So some big problems for them, unfortunately. But there's the confirmation of your result. Mark Kimber and Callum Bradshaw from Marty Boyer and Philip Vava. Elio Goldstein is 5th from Niels Coolan. Then Alex Lloyd and Sam Balota. Danny Bunshu and Ivan Bataya. Then Urbelt Moore and Sim Liedmar all the way up to 12th. Good comeback from him. Pendlebury up to 13th as well. Nick Schmidt, Crespin, Nellison and the Janssens, 17th and 18th, up 10 places for Casper. Then Dan Steenman is 19th ahead of Nino Potov. And then Eduardo Kosseteng and Jana Guvarts, Manafid Jawi and Eric Müller, Linus Janssen and Angus Moulsdale tumbling all the way to 26th. Jort Kuhn and Gerard Tinoco from Rivki Rakamulya. And then our 3 retirements, Paul Javier Lopez out on the final lap, Leonardo Caglioni, and then Alex Wang, of course, who went into the barriers at turn 1 after a little bit of an incident there with, we think, Manafid Jawi. But a really exciting battle. That was a very tough race in senior. But Mark Kimber opens his account as he ended it last year as the number 1. But Callum Bradshaw in second place. That's going to be a really exciting battle as the day unfolds. So Callum Bradshaw, the new boy, second position in this one. No wonder he's a former world champion in juniors. Here he is in seniors. There's the rest of the schedule for the day. We are going to open our account now with the juniors. And we'll have 2 of their races of the 6 that they're going to have over the course of the day. Just watching Leonardo Caglioni and Alex Wang being recovered. They are looking sick to their stomach, it has to be said. Alex Wang, I don't think he did that one on his own. I think he was assisted into the barriers there because it's quite a long way off the racing line. But if you've got 4 or 5 carts battling side by side into that first corner, there's always the expectation that somebody is going to get spat out to the drink. And unfortunately, on this occasion, it was the Singaporean for Mick Barrett Racing, Alex Wang, who ended up in the barriers. A real shame for him, but he's got plenty of opportunities to come back. Now, we go to the X30 Juniors with a bit of a story for Strawberry Racing. Qualifying was beautiful yesterday. They got a 1-2-3 in the juniors for their fastest drivers. And the pole position man, some might not have expected this one, but it was the very talented Swede Wilgert Eggqvist who came through for the pole position. Very talented youngster, did a fantastic job, put in a really good effort through the pole position lap, and he will line up on pole position alongside his teammate for the first heat, and that is Josh Rowledge. On the second row for this one is going to be another pair of Brits who have been very strong indeed over the course of the weekend. Joseph Taylor, who's been the king of Britain in various classes and has now come to Europe to do the same thing. And Marcus Luzio, who is one of the new faces in the Alonso stable, the Dan Holland racing team, Marcus Luzio, and has done an absolutely fantastic job this weekend. Qualifying yesterday, he was one of the drivers I think a lot of people might have expected to struggle, but he didn't. He got on with it, got the job done, and he's now right up at the sharp end. Luzio could end up with a very nice surprise at the end of a few of the races today. He's in the sharp end, he has the chance to go for victory, and he's now genuinely a contender. Great to see. Freddie Spindlow is another one of those drivers, one of the new boys at KR Sport in the junior category, and he seems to have no end of bad luck, but in terms of raw speed, Freddie Spindlow has the ability to go right up to the the top of the championship. So let's see what he's going to do in this first heat. For his advantage, he's on the inside line, so that could give him a really good start from the third row of the grid. Alongside him is the Albanian driver, now based in Germany these days, Helen Nerodini, who has moved across to the Evolution team for this year. And I have to say, he looks so much more calm, so much more relaxed. He seems to be in a really good squad that suits his temperament. So Helen Nerodini looking very good on the third row of the grid. Row 4 on the inside is Tom Leben, another one of those drivers who seems to be excelling with a very reasonable package. The BMR team giving him a really good machine in the Xenon chassis. And Tom Leben, again, is seeming to be very much in his element at the moment. He's really able to prove to the European world what he is capable of, and is doing a fine job. Most improved driver in the last 12 months, though, a very strong candidate for that, has to be the man alongside him. The Canadian Jason Leung has moved across to KR Sport, and ever since he's done that, he has an absolute streak of gold dust running through his kart at the moment. Everything's going beautifully for Jason Leung. Yesterday, he genuinely looked like a race winner. He was very, very confident, very calm, very smooth. He seems to be a much more disciplined racing driver. He doesn't seem to be making the same sort of errors or getting himself into the same sort of difficulties he was last year. He is such an improved driver. If anything, the Canadian is easily one of the best re-emergent talents in this junior field. Then rounding out the top 10, a first emergence into Europe, and this is a name you're going to hear a lot actually, Alex Lee, who has been very impressive over the course of the last couple of days of testing. He's 9th on the grid for this one, and he lines up alongside one of the McLaren DNA youngsters, Archie Walker, who's been taken on by the McLaren Formula One's new young driver program, the DNA Shadow Project, and he's a very, very impressive youngster. He just seems to be smiling every single day, no matter what's going on. If the kart's not doing well, he still gets out and smiles about it. If he's doing a great job, his lips touch his ears. He's got a massive wide smile. And this is a character who everybody's going to get to know and adore as the weekends progress. And Archie, he just seems to be learning so quickly. He's soaking up everything like a sponge. A couple of weekends ago, he was in the midfield. Now he's at the front end of the field. And it's not going to be long before he's winning race after race after race. There's a lot of talents behind them on the grid, just outside the top 10. You've got the likes of Ed Pearson and Ruben Volt. Ed Pearson, of course, one of the top talents in Britain, who again has made his emergence with Coles Racing into the European scene. Ruben Volt has spent the last 2 years in the mini category and has now stepped up to juniors, remaining with his faithful Dan Holland Racing team. Noah Maton is the highest of the Belgian drivers in this particular heat. He's lining up alongside the Mexican star Ian Aguilera. Then we have Kimi Abraham, who again has stepped up from the mini category, the Belgian now racing in juniors, alongside the Spaniard Eloy Gonzalez, who is one of the new ranks at the FA Racing team, Fernando Alonso's chassis, of course. Then we have the American star, Matteo Rubio Luengo. Now, he's one to keep an eye on, actually. He was very solid in the first couple of days of testing, but yesterday he started to get a lot more pace out of the kart. So the American, starting on that inside line, there could be some really strong performances from him. Alongside him on the grid is young Sam Hawthorne. Again, this is his first emergence into Europe, but a lot of his mates that he was racing with in Great Britain have told him about it and said, you want to come and race over here. It's so much fun. You will learn so much. And he really has, to be in that top 20 for this heat. He's on the outside line, which could be a little bit of a stymie for him, but he's going to learn so quickly as Sam Hawthorne, and he's one of those drivers that really does listen and pays a lot of attention when he's on the track. And then you've got, rounding out that top 10 rows, you've got the Frenchman William Nicolo and the Dutchman Dinan Dokum. Completing the field, we have Sweden's Vigor Hjorvad. Didn't quite get the sort of qualifying lap he wanted out of yesterday on the Ricardo chassis, but hopefully he's going to come through the field. Another man to watch for is Alessandro Serenetti's mascot for the day, Sam Shaw, who is there for the BKC Racing team. It's never easy when a small team comes out to Europe and tries to take on the big guns, and Sam Shaw's acquitted himself very solidly. He was very disappointed yesterday after qualifying, but he is one of those drivers who has a bit of a reputation. If qualifying doesn't go well, he spends the next few races storming his way through the field, so expect him to pick them off one by one. Then the Frenchman Francois Delati, who will line up beside the Spanish charge, Eric Alanes. Now, he was very disgruntled after qualifying yesterday. He had the pace from the practice sessions to be top 6 overall, and it just didn't quite happen again in the qualifying session as he couldn't quite get a clean lap in. This is what happens when drivers sit in the pit lane and wait for the moment to go out, because obviously they want to look after the tyres, but they also want to see when the other drivers go out on track. And unfortunately, if you wait too long, you end up in a traffic jam. And that's exactly what happened to several drivers, including the likes of Sam Shaw and Eric Alanis. Robin Pagnat will line up beside Hugo Arendi. And then it's Angelo Melli and Mathis Fagbemi, the two Belgians that will complete the field. Here they come, out onto the circuit for their rolling lap. Let's talk you through the grid. Wilgert Edqvist and Josh Rowledge, Joe Taylor and Marcus Luzio, Freddie Spindlow and Helena Nedardini, from Tom Leben and Jason Young. Then Alex Lee and Archie Walker complete the top 10, from Ed Pearson and Ruben Volt, Noah Maton and Ian Aguilera, then Kimi Abraham and Eloy Gonzalez, Matteo Rubio Luengo and Sam Hawthorne, then William Nicolou, Dinon Dokum, Viggo Hjorvard and Sam Shaw, Francois Delatti and Eric Alanis, Robin Pagnat and Hugo Arendi, Angelo Melli and Mathis Fagbemi. So 28 drivers, 8 laps around this Karting de Fagnes Mariembourg circuit. It's a wonderful venue, this, and a fantastic way to start the 2019 IAME Euro Series. It's a brilliant venue, as fast and as furious on the first part of the circuit as any circuit you'll find. And then it tightens up and gets very technical in the latter part of the lap. It's a very tricky circuit to get right in terms of setup, because the first part you obviously need to be fast in a straight line and very smooth on the way through those long flowing apexes. Turn 1 is actually a very fast corner that you have to be very well prepared for. You put a lot of G in that bend. Turn 2 is when it slows down, but you have to let the kart travel through because the pace does open up as the corner extends. Then you're slightly to the left on the braking point for turn 3, much tighter, but then you're back on the power early. You keep a little bit of that power open through turn 5 and up towards the S's through this section of the course, up through the right-hander on the far side of the course. That's when things start to tighten up. About this section here, you start to get a lot of tight hairpins and tight chicanes, and it all sort of ebbs and flows. But a rhythm here is very important. You have to dial in one corner after the other, from the right to the left, to the left, to the right, to the left. You have to make sure the kart is so balanced and so even. And if you get just a little bit too much curb, a little bit wide on the exit, that can cost you anywhere between 3 and 7/10 of a second per lap. And that, in qualifying, is critical. In the race, it can be the difference between you reaching the podium or having to settle for a lower end of top 10 finish. So it's very tight, very tricky, this Mariembourg circuit, and we can't wait to see what the drivers are going to go for. Vedom on YouTube says it right. Go fast, race clean, have fun. The good thing is, that's what we tend to do in the IAME Euro Series. It's a wonderful paddock full of the best drivers and teams in the world on the best racetracks in Europe. Here we go. Time to go racing in juniors. Is it going to be a clean start for Wilgert Edqvist? The answer is yes, and away we go. Round the outside, Josh Rowledge tries to eclipse his teammate. It's not going to happen, and there's a little bit of nudging through the first corner, but everybody is through cleanly. And into second place immediately comes the very fast starting Joe Taylor in behind Wilgert Edqvist. So Edqvist leads the way. A very late lunge and a big mistake from the man in third place. Initially, Marcus Luzio, he just overshot his braking and ended up running wide and losing out to Josh Rowledge. So Rowledge in third position, but Luzio has recovered very well there to still be in P4. But he very nearly lost it altogether. But that's fine. He's managed to get himself back into position, and now the rhythm's picking up pace again. But into the lead has gone Joe Taylor. He has made his move on Wilgert Edqvist, and he is now in front. So it's Joe Taylor from Edqvist in second. Third is now Rowledge in front of Luzio. And then the battle further back is getting quite intense as they come through this time. So the drivers come off the corner and down the main straight once again. Joe Taylor is your leader. Wilgert Edqvist, the Swede, is still there in second place. Josh Rowledge third, and up into fourth place. Up the inside goes the KR Sport car. That's the Cosmic of Freddie Spindlow. So Spindlow has got through on the inside of Marcus Luzio, and that's another of the Coles karts there in sixth position. I think that's got to be Alex Lee, I think it is. No, my apologies. It's the 74 that's come up. That is Jason Leung on the Cosmic. My apologies. So Jason Leung making his way through the field. In the sunshine, the glare, unfortunately, from a distance, the Coles karts can look quite similar to that of the Cosmic, just on the sun's glare. So your leader is Joe Taylor. Edqvist in second place from Rowledge and Spindlow. Then Luzio, who has now fallen behind Alex Lee, unfortunately. So Jason Leung was going very well, and so was Alex Lee, who's made an absolutely corking good start. So round the final corner and down the main straight. This is going to get pretty exciting from here on in, as Joe Taylor has a bit of an advantage over Edqvist. Rowledge is right there in second, but the Strawberry Twins are going to work together as Luzio has another look at Alex Lee. Alex Lee is there on the inside line for the corner, though, so there's nothing Luzio can do to come back. And in behind him, that's one of the Evolution karts. I think that's Helena Nedardini. And then it's Tom Levin from Jason Leung. Tom Leben is right there in the mix behind in 24th position, now racing on the Mark Litchfield team's comp kart chassis. And Tom Leben going very well. His ambition is to be World Touring Cars one day. I can see him doing that as well. He's a very handy driver and would suit TCR very well. So Taylor, Edqvist and Rowledge very much breaking clear. Spindlow trying to go with them though, and he's making good progress actually. Then it's Lee, then it's Luzio. So they come through on the far side of the course, round the final turn and back onto the main straight with a slight kink through it. But Joseph Taylor leads from the front, and this is what he's good at. He's really good at taking the lead of races and just controlling the pace. He doesn't work the tyres too much. He just lets the rhythm of the kart work. The problem he's got is that he's got a pair of teammates from the Strawberry Racing fold, one of the biggest teams in the world. Behind him, and Josh Rowledge decides to swap positions on his teammate Wilgert Edqvist. Rowledge goes through and takes second place away from his Swedish teammate, and Freddie Spindlow has set the fastest lap behind them. They're in fourth place, trying to close up the gap. So it might not be too long before the three of them elect to work together to try and do something about Joe Taylor. But that move from Josh Rowledge has definitely dropped the Strawberry Racing pair off the back a little bit. Maybe Josh Rowledge feeling that he's the one to do the chasing of Joe Taylor because he knows him better, having raced him many times in Great Britain. So down the short drop and into the final turn. Rowledge and Edqvist working together. Freddie Spindlow still in there in the mix in fourth place. Fifth position for Lee. Then it's Luzio, Leben, Nardini, Leung, Ed Pearson from Eloy Gonzalez, Noah Maton and Archie Walker. Then it's Ruben Volt, Sam Hawthorne, Ian Aguilera, Dinon Duckham and Sam Shaw from William Nicolou and Kimi Abraham. And up the inside, that is the retaliation. Edqvist lost out to Spindlow initially, and now Edqvist gets him back again. Spindlow trying to get his way through into third position, but Freddie Spindlow being halted at every turn by the Swede. Edqvist is still there in third, but what that's done is it's dropped them off the back of Josh Rowledge. So Rowledge is now on his own to go after Joe Taylor. Doing a fine job of it at the moment. 28 karts still running the race, and all of them still running fairly smoothly. Nobody really making a massive difficulty of things at the moment. But it's still that battle. Joe Taylor versus Josh Rowledge as they come through on the far side of the course. Dropping down to that final corner, in through the right-hander. And still, the battle very intense between them as they come off the chicane and down the main straight once more. Freddie Spindlow is now in third position, but he's defending the inside line. Wilgert Edqvist trying to come right round the outside. Spindlow covers for the inside. Edqvist tries to cut back on him, and it's not going to work. And that's allowed Lee, Luzio and Levin to close up. Lee is going to make his move on the inside of Edqvist as Spindlow does get through into third position again. And now there's a little bit of a nudge there as Edqvist tries to make his way past Spindlow, and it's three wide for fifth. Lee, Luzio and Leben's done them both. Tom Leben dives through up the inside of both of them and gets into fifth position. Brilliant move from Tom Leben. Absolutely superb. And Mark Litchfield will be absolutely beaming from ear to ear about that one. Superb move from the comp kart driver. So now it is 2 by 2 at the front. Joe Taylor and Josh Rowledge. And then it is Spindlow and Edqvist having a terrific scrap over third position as well. Edqvist wants to retaliate, though. The Swede wants to break up the British party. A little bit of a nudge from Edqvist as he goes into the final turn. Spindlow is now there alongside him, and Edqvist has come through. So Edqvist has come through. Spindlow losing a little bit of momentum. So Spindlow is down to fourth position as a result. Edqvist in third position. And that's Rowledge through. Rowledge through on the inside of Joe Taylor. Rowledge has made the move. So Rowledge comes through into the lead. There's a massive squabble going on further back as Nedadini now manages to get past the number 10 of Marcus Luzio. 54 is in there. That's Ed Pearson with Alex Lee in the mix there as well. It's all change in the mid-pack behind the 24 of Tom Leben. So sixth position is anybody's game. But Rowledge leads the way at the present moment in front of Joe Taylor. Then it's Edqvist in front of Freddie Spindlow. Now, Spindlow is going to feel a little bit of aggrievement from that previous moment there. We've had an off in the final turn. Somebody has not come through. And I think it might be William Nicolou who has not come through. So we may have a retirement there from William Nicolou. I haven't seen it, but you can see the yellow flags there waving in the final corner. Haven't seen the kart that's come off the road. But it looks to me as though William Nicolou is not coming round. So we'll see if he is pulled off the circuit as we go into the final lap. Last lap of the race, and Rowledge has timed this to perfection in front of Joe Taylor. Edqvist there in third place. Oh, and there's a contact further back. It looks like Eloy Gonzalez has gone off onto the grass. So Eloy Gonzalez has been forced off the racetrack there. Unfortunately, the 39, a big problem for the Spaniard. He rejoins having missed turn 3. So he rejoins having lost quite a few places as well. But it's going to be Josh Rowledge in front of Joseph Taylor. And then Edqvist in third position in front of Freddie Spindlow. So a tough race at the front. Fifth position is not done yet. Tom Leven's still under massive pressure, I think, from Heron and Nerodini. And then Pearson, Lucio Lee and Ruben Volt. But out of the final turn, Josh Rowledge has done the business in exactly the right manner. He starts the weekend in fine style. Josh Rowledge takes the victory in the first heat of the day. Brilliant race win. Second place from Joe Taylor. Third from Wilgert Edqvist in front of Freddie Spindlow. Tom Leven is in fifth place. And then it's Helena Nerodini from Pearson, Lucio Lee and Volt. Jason Leung is in 11th from Noah Maton. Wow, very interesting fight in the juniors. And a good battle, once again, between Josh Rowledge and Joe Taylor. We've heard that so many times in the UK. It's good to see it now in the European field as well. But it's been a really exciting race to start the juniors off. And Josh Rowledge has opened his account with a victory just the way he wanted to. So let's talk you through the finishing result now that everybody has brought the card home. Josh Rowledge in the victory position with Joe Taylor in second and Wilgert Edqvist is there in third place. Then Freddie Spindlow and Tom Leven. Heron and Nerodini is in front of Ed Pearson. Then Marcus Lucio and Alex Lee. Ruben Volt rounding out the top 10 from Jason Young and Noah Maton. Then Archie Walker in front of Sam Hawthorne. Dinan Durkham and Ian Aguilera. Eloy Gonzalez and the improving Sam Shaw. Matteo Rubio Luengo and Eric Alanes. Then Francois Delati, Kimi Abraham, Vigo Hjorvard and Hugo Arendi. Robin Pagnat is in front of Angelo Melli. And then Mathis Fagbemi, the three French contingent there at the back of the field with William Nicolou, unfortunately out of the race after an off on the final corner. So Josh Rowledge opens his account with a victory. It's going to be really exciting to see whether he can continue that sort of pace in front of Joe Taylor. Edqvist versus Spindlow got a little bit heated, didn't it? We'll have to see how that one continues on through the day. But there's plenty of great racing to come, and you can see it's not going to be long at all before the next heat comes out. 7 minutes from now, in fact, which gives us plenty of time to talk you through the talent that is going to be on that starting grid. Pole position is going to be another of the Strawberry Racing drivers, and again, a candidate for one of the most improved drivers I've ever seen. He really struggled last year in his native Great Britain, but ever since he stepped up to the European calendar, it started with a win in the Spanish series a few weeks ago. And ever since then, he's really gained the confidence to put on an amazing show on the world stage. Aaron Walker for the Strawberry Racing team starts pole position for this one. Alongside him on the grid is the ever-impressive Evolution driver, Liam McNeely, who is a qualifying specialist. But this year, he really wants to turn that into great race finishes. And his racecraft is second to none when he gets a good opportunity. Along with his teammate, Zach Ripley, who's on the inside line of the second row in third position. The Evolution squad have really brought some amazing British powerhouses to the junior category this year. As they did last year, of course, Liam McNeely and Zach Ripley were always very strong over one lap. But this year, they seem to have the race pace as well. So we could see quite a few of the Evolution karts fighting for victory in the junior category. Alongside Zach Ripley is Oliver Gray of the Dan Holland Racing team. He is there on the second row of the grid. Then we have Chris Harnan, the Dutchman, who is there in the inside line of row 3, alongside the fastest man of the weekend, Kian Shields. Nobody's been able to go faster than him over one lap. In practice, he did a 56.673, which is faster than anyone has managed all weekend in junior, and he was also fastest in warm-up this morning on a 56.867. So watch him from P6. He was a little disappointed from qualifying. He didn't get the clean lap he wanted, but from row 3, a victory is very doable. Oliver Behrman, the man who swept all before him in Valencia last month, is there in 7th position on the grid for this one. Again, wasn't quite as happy as he wanted to be with the pole position lap he couldn't find. And hopefully from the 7th position slot on the grid of this heat, he can start his weekend on gusto. Ken Oscar Algra is alongside him. The Estonian who has been in the IAME Euro Series paddock since his mini days 2 years ago and is still with us now as a junior. Maximus Meyer, who I think is the most experienced driver in the IAME Euro Series paddock, dating back to 2016. I'm fairly sure he's done more races than any other driver across the 4 classes. He's there in 9th position on the grid for this one, and his dad turned 50 yesterday. I'm sure I haven't embarrassed him too much by saying that. Across from him on the grid is the newest recruit at KR Sport from the British contingent, Alfie Rigby, who's had an amazing whirlwind season, has done a lot in international competition since he eclipsed his British campaign last year. And Alfie Rigby is another one who should be a stellar one to watch in the junior category. The man who grabbed pole position last time out at Valencia in the Winter Cup, Aaron Reshepi, lines up 11th on the grid for this one. Again, wasn't too happy with the qualifying lap he got, but we know he's got the pace to run at the sharp end. Alongside him is the ever-improving Dutchman Nathan Ottink, who's been absolutely mega since stepping out of Minis last year, was a race winner there, and is now a junior, and immediately is on the pace in juniors. So keep an eye on Nathan Ottink. He may have an even better junior campaign than he ever did in Minis. Then we have Lois Delbar, who is the leading local star in this particular grid. Alongside him on the grid is the Pole Jerzy Spinkovic, who is hoping that streak of bad luck is finally going to leave him. He's always at the sharp end in qualifying. In the races, something always comes unstuck. Then we have Danny Prinz, who lines up alongside his countryman Thijs Kleinion on the 8th row of the grid. Then two drivers who were really disappointed after qualifying, the two Brits who share the 9th row. We expect improvement and progress from these two. Harvey Ryby on the inside line for Piers Sexton Racing again got caught in traffic yesterday in qualifying and was not really able to get the fast lap he was after. And being on the inside line, he is very good when it comes to racecraft. We saw him in some amazing battles back home in Blighty last year, so expect him to do well. Alongside him on the grid is Dan Ginchard, one of the surprise finds of the IAME Valencia Winter Cup. His first time in the paddock, his first time in Valencia, and he was nearly pole position. He almost took the whole thing. It was only Aaron Reshepi who got him by a couple of hundredths of a second, I think, who pipped him to the post. But the RS kart is going very well. It handles brilliantly, but he's been struggling for power all weekend, they say. So a real struggle for Dan Ginchard, but hopefully they can get it sorted, ready in time for the races. Alongside them, just behind them, I should say, on the 10th row of the grid is one of the local drivers, Ollie van Veit, and he's alongside the Norwegian, who is back in the paddock once again, having previously been with us as a mini, Benjamin Fuglsang. So he is there on row 10. Then Patrick Enoch, the Estonian, is alongside the very disappointed Pole, Olivia Pilka, who was a contender for the victory last time out in Valencia, had a shocking qualifying session. He's right down in the 11th row of the grid. So watch for the Dan Holland Racing driver. He will be charging through, and Ollie Pilka will not want to finish as low as 22nd. It looks like, for a change, Dan Ginchard has a teammate, because this weekend he's joined in the RS Schumacher fold by Luca Leistra, the local hero, who again has had some difficulties for pace, but in terms of his ability, no one would knock Luca Leistra as his ability as a racer. He is one of the top talents from his country. Lucas Tileman, his countryman, is there for the Mach 1 squad. Del Rey Racing on the 12th row of the grid. Good to see they're running a junior this year. And then we have the last four in. Victor Oberjanak, the Polish driver, alongside Albin Carlson on the Ricardo kart. And then right at the back, having had no qualifying lap at all, Miguel Perro really had a nightmare qualifying session. His kart broke down while he was on his flying lap. So he is going to start on the back row of the grid, along with the man who was unfortunately excluded for a transgression in qualifying, Bart Plug. And we'll see what he can do. He was a race winner, of course, Bart Plug, in the mini contingent, as, of course, last year was Miguel Perro. So we'll see what those two can do from the back of the grid, but neither of them will want to stay there very long. That is the key here. But from the front of the grid, it's going to be Aaron Walker, who takes his first steps in the IAME Euro Series from pole position. And this is going to be a really exciting one for him. Walker and McNeely, Ripley and Gray make it an all-British first two rows. From Chris Harnan and Kean Shields, then Oliver Behrman and Ken Oscar Algra, Max Meyer and Alfie Rigby. Then it's Aaron Reshepi and Nathan Ottink, Lois Delbar and Jerzy Spinkovic, Danny Prinz and Thijs Kleinion, Harvey Ryby and Dan Ginchard, Oliver van Veit and Benjamin Fuglsang, Patrick Enoch and Ollie Pilka, Luca Leistra and Lucas Tileman, then Victor Oberjanek, Albin Carlson, Miguel Perro and Bart Plug. So they're getting themselves dialed in, warming up the tyres and brakes. Always very tricky when these karts are still fresh out of the box for the new season. And the drivers are obviously wanting to dial themselves in, ready for an amazing campaign. I've got so much praise for this man at the front, Aaron Walker. He's turned the corner developmentally. Moving across to the Strawberry Racing team has really brought him out of his shell. He had some difficulties last year, but what an amazing transformation. Aaron Walker is now genuinely looking like a world champion in waiting. But so are several other drivers in the field behind him. You've got to look at the Evolution twins, Liam McNeely and Zach Ripley. Always remarkably, impeccably strong in qualifying, and these two will want to turn that into race victories. If they can get away and get ahead at the front of this race, McNeely and Ripley can work together. They are great teammates. They share a lot of data. They have got so much respect for each other. And if those two can plant away and get one over on the pole sitter Aaron Walker, if McNeely and Ripley can break clear, none of the other drivers in this field will see which way they went. That is how strong the Evolution pace is at the moment. So we'll see if they can get through. Oliver Gray, Chris Harnan and Cian Shields are all going to be factors, though, particularly Cian Shields, fastest of all over the course of the weekend, got the amazing lap in practice. And this morning in the warm-up, he was fastest of all as well. So the Scotsman definitely with a point to prove here. There's so many drivers in the field who want to make their way back through. Behrman, Meyer, Rigby, Reshepi, Ottink. You've got to look at people like Ginchard and Ryby. They'll want to fight through. Fuglsang, Ollie Pilker, Luca Lystra, Miguel Berro, Bart Plug. They're all out of position. So we could see a lot of overtaking in this one. It's going to be a very feisty field for this second junior heat of the day. As Aaron Walker pulls out into position. Has he gone a little bit too early? No, it's fine. Away he goes. It's a perfect start from Aaron Walker. He was in the tram lines, led them through. Oh, and there's a problem. Somebody breaking down on the inside line. Well, certainly going very slowly and has lost a massive amount of time. Not sure what happened, but Aaron Walker has come through and up into second position. That looks like... Is that Chris Harnan? It is Chris Harnan who's come through to second, and up to third place has come the 41 of Oliver Behrman. So a very dramatic start. Looks as though there were some problems for the Evolution karts. So I'm not sure what's happened to McNeely, not sure what's happened to Ripley, but they've fallen a long way back from where they were. I think that's McNeely in fifth position, or is that Zach Ripley, actually? I think it's Ripley who's there in fifth position. McNeely having some difficulties off the line. So a very dramatic start, lots of changing of the guard, but out in front it is Walker from Chris Harnan. The Dutchman, Chris Harnan, is going to battle already. And you know what? Having spoken to Chris Harnan over the course of Valencia, this kid is very motivated. Chris Harnan is looking like another young Max Verstappen in more ways than one. And Cian Shields up the inside makes his move on Zach Ripley. Nicely done into turn one. So the Fusion driver gets his way up into P5, and round the outside, he's going to get a bit of a challenge from his team, from Ripley's teammate, as Ripley goes up the inside of Shields. And is McNeely going to go with him? Yes, he does. Look at that teamwork as they both knit their way back past Cian Shields. Great work from McNeely and Ripley. But Cian Shields is doing well to defend against his teammate Max Meyer. And there's a change for the lead as up the inside comes Chris Harnan. Chris Harnan, the Dutchman, gets into the lead of the race now in front of Aaron Walker. I nearly said Archie Walker. He was in the previous race, these A Walkers. Aaron Walker in second place. Chris Harnan in the lead, though, and it's Aaron Walker second place in front of Behrman and Gray. So Oliver Behrman and Oliver Gray running very well in third and fourth place. They come off the final turn, but it's the Flying Dutchman out in front. Chris Harnan doing an amazing job to lead. And here comes Oliver Behrman making his move on the inside of Aaron Walker. Walker chops across to shut him down, but it's not going to happen. Beautiful. Oliver Behrman will not be intimidated. He gets through. Nicely handled there by Behrman. Walker was a little bit cheeky. He didn't hit him. There was no contact at all. As up the inside now comes Oliver Gray to take third off Aaron Walker. There was no contact at all from Aaron Walker, but he just edged his kart a little bit to Oliver Behrman to freak him out and try and get him to back down. Oliver Behrman will not be intimidated that easily. He's a very feisty racer, and he's into second place. Good work from Behrman. He will not be intimidated today. So Chris Harnan, Behrman, Gray, Walker. Fifth position is still the battle between the Evolution karts, Ripley and McNeely. And they are working together to close up on the leading four. So it's going to be a six-way battle for the lead now, with Ripley and McNeely working in tandem. And then in seventh place, that looks to me like Max Meyer and Cian Shields having a great battle. No, actually, that's Rigby, isn't it? That's Rigby who's come through to seventh place. And it's a battle for the lead as Behrman goes for the lead on the inside line of Chris Harnan. Into turn one. Behrman hits the front. Fantastic. Oliver Behrman. And now up the inside for second position. That's a late move, but on the inside, nicely done from Oliver Gray. He gets the second past Chris Harnan. And now Ripley makes his move on the inside of Aaron Walker. Ripley is through into P4. It might not be too long before McNeely gets a shot at it as well. But it is a six-cart freight train at the front of the field, with Oliver Behrman leading from Oliver Gray, Chris Harnan, Zach Ripley, Archie Walker and Liam McNeely. So Behrman and Gray lead the way out of the mid-section of the course. Chris Harnan, the former leader, in third position. Here they come up through the top end of the course, and they're going to drop down into the final section of the corner. Now Oliver Clark is getting very close to Oliver Behrman in the lead of the race. And look at Zach Ripley. He is threatening to go for Chris Harnan. I have a feeling he's going to make third place into turn one. Here comes Zach Ripley. Dives up the inside of Harnan. He's squeezed, but Zach Ripley is through. Nicely done. The Evolution driver back into P3. So watch for Ripley. He's the danger man in this one. The two leaders battling away. It's Oliver and Oliver out in front, but Zach Ripley up to third place has suddenly turned the corner and he's pushing back to the front. This is great work from Zach Ripley. So it's the Olivers in first and second place. Oliver Behrman in Oliver Gray. But watch out for the Zach attack in third position. He is pushing hard, Zach Ripley. And in fourth place, Chris Harnan is doing very well indeed. The Flying Dutchman. Fourth position as they come through into the S's once more. Behrman, Gray, Ripley, Harnan, Walker, McNeely. 6 of them all still scrapping for the lead of the race. Really exciting tussle. They come off the final corner. Oliver Gray looks dialed in to go for a move on Oliver Behrman into turn 1. He's got him right in the slipstream. He's going to look back to see if there's a move. No, he's going to wait for the opportunity as Chris Harnan dives back for the inside of Ripley. Ripley trying to carry the speed round the outside. Harnan eventually gets the move done. But Ripley was desperately trying to cling on to that third place. He wasn't quite able to keep it. Meanwhile, further back, it looks as though Cian Shields is having a bit of a tough time at the office. Battling his way through again onto the back of Ken Oscar Algra. Alfie Rigby is behind them both now, so Cian Shields fighting his way back. He lost a few places, but now he's coming back into the fore once again. And he's going to try and take on the Estonian. Algra making that cart very wide indeed. But they've both got past Alfie Rigby, and then next up is Max Meyer. And then in behind them, that looks to me like Danny Prinz battling away with Aaron Reshepi. So some very good talent in this junior field this year. Possibly even more talented than last year's grid, if that's even possible. So down the main straight. Oliver Gray, not quite close enough to go for the move on Oliver Behrman into turn 1. Chris Harnan, though, trying to get the gap down with 2 laps to go. They've not got a lot of time to do anything about this, and Zach Ripley knows it. He's trying to dial in Chris Harnan on the inside to turn 3. It's not going to happen through 2. Maybe he'll get the inside into the left-hander at 3. Yes, he will! Oh, perfect from Zach Ripley. He read that situation perfectly. And now he's into P3 once again with Aaron Walker trying to cut back into Chris Harnan. Liam McNeely just not quite able to run with them at the moment. Then it's Algra versus Shields, Rigby and Max Meyer rounding out the top 10. Back for the lead. Oliver Gray just sat behind Oliver Behrman waiting for a moment, and it looks like we got an off a couple of corners further back. Yep, we got somebody off on the grass there. Couldn't quite see who that was, unfortunately, going off. We'll double check a little bit later on through. Well, there's going to be someone who's lost out a lot of places. Miguel Peru's coming through the field fairly rapidly. He's made up 10 places from his grid position up to 17th. So far, so good for him. Down the main straight, one more time they go round, and look at that, Behrman defending to the inside when he didn't need to. Gray wasn't close enough. Harnan third again, Ripley in fourth, 5th is Aaron Walker. So Chris Harnan has made the move back into third position on the far side of the circuit, and that pretty much takes away any chance Zach Ripley might have had of catching the leading 2. From a long way back, Aaron Walker dives for the inside into turn 3 and makes the move. Ripley's not going to settle for that. He's going to try and cut back in front, but Aaron Walker chops across. Neat move from Aaron Walker. Didn't even think that one was on, but he's made it stick. That was a good bit of driving from Aaron Walker. And now it's just these 3 breaking clear to lead away by example. So now it is going to be a run to the victory for Oliver Behrman. Oliver Gray's sensible. He knows that there's no point going for a do-or-die manoeuvre. He'd rather take the second place and go after Oliver Behrman later. He's going to save his best for the last. But Oliver Behrman is going to open his account for the weekend with a victory. Oliver Behrman comes through and takes the checkered flag. Great work from Oliver Behrman. Boom! That's win number 1. Thank you very much. Nicely done from Oliver Behrman. Fighting his way through from what was that? All the way back from 7th on the grid, Oliver Behrman. Nicely handled. And the young boy from Chelmsford in Essex in Great Britain having an amazing run. Oliver Gray in second place, I should say. Doing a sensational job too in second place. Good run from Ollie Gray. Third place for Chris Harnan. Very feisty. Very good discipline in the racecraft. And working very hard indeed to make those moves his own. But a very tough race weekend is in the offing. They can't all win, and you always want them all to win, of course. That's the difficulty of being such a commentator with so much compassion. Oliver Behrman and Gray in first position. Chris Harnan in third place from Aaron Walker and Zach Ripley. Liam McNeely making it 6th place. Then Ken Oscar Algra and Cian Shields. Alfie Rigby and Ollie Pilker fighting way back to 10th from Max Meyer and Danny Prinz. Luca Lystra comes up 10 places to 13th in front of his teammate Dan Ginshard. Eden Reshepi and Nathan Otting. Miguel Peru comes up 10 places to 17th from Jerzy Spinkovic, Lois Delbar and Bart Plug. Then Thijs Kleinian, Ben Vugelsack, Harvey Ryby and Patrick Enoch, Lucas Teilman and Albin Carlson, Victor Oberjanek and Olivan Veit. And they all came through and were all covered by just 20 seconds. Not bad at all, eh? The juniors, really, really impressive in this one. And we saw some thrilling racecraft, some brilliant driving. And hopefully we're going to see a lot more as the day progresses. So the juniors will be back out again after the lunch break. But our next course of action is going to be the X30 Mini Brigade. Now, we saw some amazing performances from them in qualifying, and it's wonderful to see from the X30 Mini contingent a full grid, pretty much. I mean, we're only about 4 carts away from being a capacity grid, but certainly the Minis have struggled for numbers in previous years, not in 2019. They've been absolutely stellar. And we've got some of the best drivers of their age from all around the world. Don't forget that at X30 Mini, you run from the age of 8 to the age of 12. And it really is quite sensational to see these guys battling away tooth and nail for the victory. And there are so many talented youngsters in this X30 Mini grid. It is a now truly international competition with drivers represented from all over the world. So of the 30 drivers that are here this weekend, let's talk you through the grid for this first heat. Pole position is the man who grabbed that in qualifying and obviously off the back of his IAME Valencia Winter Cup victory, and that is Freddie Slater. He is the man who is becoming very widely known as the British powerhouse, Freddie Sia Slater, as he was always known in Great Britain. He is there in the lead of the charge down to the first corner for this first heat. Guillermo Delgado, the Spanish driver, will be alongside him on the front row of the grid. A really good effort from him in qualifying as he banged in a fast lap right at the bitter end and got himself into that second place. Good work from Guillermo, and I think we'll see a lot more of him in the course of the 2019 season. René Lammers, who was originally the fastest in free practice and is the fastest man of the entire weekend with a best time of 62.374. He'll start third on the grid, and to be fair, Freddie Slater's biggest worry is going to be René Lammers, as he admitted himself. Then on fourth on the grid is the new Spanish talent for the FA Racing squad, Paul Cayos. Now, he is a very feisty little character, really, really competitive, very, very spirited, in the same mould as the likes of Mari Boya and Miguel Peru. This youngster, Paul Cayos, is definitely one we need to watch out for. He's got plenty of confidence, lots of speed, he's very disciplined, very calm and very smooth, but when he spots the gap, he is going to go for it, and he is full of energy and enthusiasm. This kid in the second row of the grid is definitely a new name to watch for in the 2019 season. In fifth on the grid, a very talented run from the Dutchman, Sascha van Pad Bosch, on the Paralin chassis, will be there on the inside line of row 3. And he lines up alongside the luckless Italian, Sebastiano Pavan. He's been so strong in races in the past, but for whatever reason, a nose cone fairing or a difficulty of some kind, he always seems to lose the amazing result he grabs. So hopefully this weekend the bad luck deserts him, and it's only going to be good fortune for Sebastiano Pavan, very talented youngster. On the fourth row of the grid, it is a truly continental championship because we have all the way from Panama, Sebastian NG, who's been going very well indeed on the Kart Republic chassis. He is there in seventh on the grid on the inside line of row 4. And the Panamanian is joined by the Filipino racer, William Goh, who emerged as a rookie last year and now looks as though he's been at this for several months now. Very, very talented youngster, William Goh from the Philippines, and he will be there on the fourth row of the grid. Then it is All Robinson on the fifth row of the grid. They are the same team. They have the same surname, but it's pure coincidence. They are not related. They're just teammates with the same name. So Leo Robinson is the one who's on the inside line. He's the man who made his way to the podium in the IAME Winter Cup in Valencia and did a fantastic job to get there. And alongside him on the grid is going to be Edu Robinson, who is based these days in Spain, and he will line up in 10th position on the grid. On the sixth row of the starting grid is going to be Clement Outran, and he will line up in 11th on the grid. One of the biggest improvements of the season so far, though, has got to be the man in 12th place, Alfie Slater, and that is Freddie's younger brother, of course. And Daddy Adrian was absolutely hopping around with joy yesterday at Alfie's performance, 12th on the grid. Considering where he was in terms of pace at Valencia, he's made up about 0.8 of a second in his overall pace, which is astonishing at such a young age. He is one of the youngest on the grid, Alfie Slater, so I don't know what it is about the water in Wayward Wootton, but I certainly want to bottle it because I think it might make me faster. These two boys definitely getting quicker all the time. Then we have the Australian superstar Zico Hopkins Collis, who comes from an amazing heritage of motorcycle racers. He's decided to go karting, And Zico Hopkins-Collis, of course, is proving himself to be a very feisty Australian, and there's an amazing lineage of success. His grandfather was one of the great talents of motorcycle racing through the 60s until his rather tragic demise in the Isle of Man back in 1970. But his father, Nick, of course, was one of the leading stalwarts of the team principalship of motorcycle racing. He ran the JPS Norton racing team for many years. So Zico deciding to go kart racing, he wants to be the next Dan Ricciardo, and he's definitely got a good start to his career. This is only his second season of racing, and he's already in the top half of the grid in international competition. Not bad. Watch out for Zico Hopkins-Collis. Alongside him on the grid is the Spanish talent Lucas Flucha for the Praga España racing team. Now, he was expecting to be closer to the top 6, but he had a dismal qualifying session. He was a little bit down in the dumps yesterday, but Lucas is full of spring, full of beans, and he is going to push his way forward. He's so good when it comes to overtaking. His racecraft is absolutely exceptional. So watch out for Flucha. That is the 937 of Lucas Flucha. He will come through the field fairly rapidly. Then we have Thomas Strovan, who is the Belgian star. He's the leading Belgian on the grid, actually, and it'll be good to see what he can do from the inside line of row 8. Alongside him on the grid is going to be the Danish talent Louis Levaux, and he's been making so much progress over the last few weeks. He really made a big impression when we came to the third heat of Valencia, fought his way back to the top 10, and now people are starting to consider him as a potential race winner. Adrian Ferrer, one of the Praga España stars, is there on the 9th row of the grid alongside the Dutchman Dylan Visser. And watch out for him because he's made a big amount of progress from practice to qualifying, really got some good times in. Bogdan Ianod-Bria really struggling in qualifying, didn't quite get, again, the lap he wanted, and he will line up alongside the Belgian star Thibaut Raumakers on the 10th row. Thibaut Gillard is there on the 11th row of the grid alongside the Dutchman Julian Jägers. Henk Junior Voigt is in 12th row of the grid, 23rd position on the grid, alongside the young lady who didn't get a decent run in at all, Maria Germano Nito, starts 24th on the grid. She's one of the new stars for the Fernando Alonso racing squad, the Alonso chassis, of course, the Portuguese talent, Maria Germano Nito, and didn't get all of the speed she needed, so we may see her come up through the field. Then on the 13th row of the grid is Rodrigo Seabra, the Portuguese star, the Wolf, as he is known. Again, making big progress from Valencia. He's a lot closer to the pack than he was. The Belgian talent, Arthur Vassort, is there on the 13th row of the grid. And then we have Luna Flucha, one of the youngest drivers in the field, the younger sister of Lucas Flucha and teammate in the Praga España squad. She's there on 27th on the grid alongside Freddie Housley. Now, we need to talk about Freddie Housley here because 28th on the grid is not where he should be at all. They had mass problems compared to practice. In the practice sessions, he was knocking on the door of top 6 for most of those sessions. So the fact that he's down there in 28th position is not a true indication of what he can do in terms of speed. But he is going to fight that back. He is going to claw his way through. And having watched him several times make the progress through the field, he'll do it fairly quickly. He might even be halfway through the field by the end of the first lap. So watch for Housley. On the back row of the grid, it's the two Belgians, Niels Lelor and the very unfortunate Patrice Kowalewski, who didn't get a decent qualifying lap in at all in qualifying. So again, watch him charge his way through the field. Lots can happen in this mini grid. There are 30 talented racing drivers from all over the world. Some are just beginning. Some have been here a couple of seasons now. But what we do know is that there's going to be a monumental fight in all of the mini races. Last year, some of the best races we had ever seen in the category had come from the minis. Now there's 30 of them to go racing. 3 times what we had for most of last year. Bring it on. Freddie Slater and Guillermo Delgado on the front row of the grid then from René Lammers and Paul Cayos. Then Sasha Van Pad Bosch and Sebastiano Pavan. Then it's Sebastian NG and William Go from the Robinsons. Leo ahead of Edu on the 5th row. Clement Autran and Alfie Slater are on row 6 from Zico Hopkins-Collis and Lucas Flucha. Thomas Strovan and Louis Levaux. Then Adrian Ferrer and Dylan Visser. And rounding out the top 20, it's Bogdan Ianod-Bria and Thibaut Raumakers. Then it is Thibaut Gillard and Julian Jägers, Henk Junior Voigt and Maria Germano Nito, Rodrigo Seabra and Arthur Vassort, Luna Flucha and Freddie Housley, and then Niels Lelor and Patrice Kowalewski. So this is going to be quite an interesting fight because we've got so many drivers at several different stages of their development. Some are taking their first steps into Europe with very little experience behind them, up for the challenge and really going for it. Others have been here a couple of seasons now and expect this to be their title year. Others have been the kings of their national categories and are now coming into Europe to see if they can keep that established. How close is the field? Well, over the last few seasons, the mini category has seen from the front to the back about 5 or 6 seconds at best. A lot of the time it's been 7 or 8 seconds. This year, there's 3 times as many drivers on the grid, 30 of them, and from the front to the back, 2 seconds. I'm not kidding. It really is that close. It's absolutely incredible when you consider that the drivers on this grid are as young as 8 and they are stepping onto the world stage for the first time, some of them. This is absolutely unbelievable. I've never seen such a plethora of talent in a mini grid on the world stage with 30 of them at varying different stages of their careers. And there's 2 seconds between them. That is incredible. And it's an indication of the talent we've got on this grid, how competitive this category really is in X30 Mini. It's brilliant to watch how it's developed over the last couple of seasons. I'm so chuffed that we've got a full capacity grid for 2019. It's an amazing achievement, and full credit to all of the work from RGMMC on the promotional side, from IAME in the technical side of things, supporting the series, and all of the corporate partners from... everybody at Alpine Stars coming on board for 2019 as well, really helping to boost the image of the championship. The Mini X30 is just going to be stellar for this year, and I noticed that there's actually more fans in the stands for this race than there have been for some of the others, and it's because the Mini race is so brilliant. We always loved them last year. This year, with 30 of them, this is one of the most highly anticipated races of the weekend. So Slater, Delgado, Lammers, Kaios, Van Pad Bosch, Pavan, NG, go. Robinson and Robinson, here we go, and it's a perfect start. No problem at all for Lammers to try and break through and go right round the outside and take the lead from Slater. Lammers goes through to the lead. What a move from him as he dives at the inside of the front row and goes right round the outside of Slater. Cracking move from René Lammers. That's why Freddie Slater was nervous of him. He knew he was going to be strong here, and Slater has broken into second position. Meanwhile, up to third, that's Nathan Ottink. Goodness me. Oh, sorry, no, it's not Nathan Ottink. It's his stablemate. My apologies. The man who's taken over from him in that team. I'm going to have to get used to that. He's now a junior Nathan Ottink. Sasha Van Pad Bosch it is who has broken into third. So Van Pad Bosch has come straight up into third position. Really good move from him. So a cracking start. It's an amazingly clean one as everybody's got through that first few corners without much incident, just plenty of overtaking. But René Lammers, the Dutchman, has stormed through with an incredible move up the inside of the front row men, right round the outside of pole sitter Freddie Slater to take the lead. Absolutely unbelievable. So Lammers leads over the line in the black and white checkered livery. Then it is Freddie Slater in second and up to third. Who's that going to make the move? That is NG. Sebastian NG comes through. The Panamanian into third position. And that's a nice move further back as well as Edu Robinson is trying to get the move on his teammate Guillermo Delgado. Leo Robinson is tucked in behind there as well, although he's lost out to the 922 of Paul Kaios. So Paul Kaios, who was in P5, has now lost out to Delgado and Edu Robinson. What a battle this first race is turning out to be already. And at the front, René Lammers is being caught by Freddie Slater. Slater's going for it already! Slater's through! Up in the second sector! Freddie Slater has already caught and passed René Lammers. Goodness me! Freddie Slater knew that René Lammers was going to be the big threat. He's obviously wanting to save face after that move around the outside from Lammers. So Slater goes through into the lead. Brilliant bit of driving there. Caught him up and decided, nope, I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to go for it straight away. And Slater is now in the lead in front of Lammers. Then it is Sasha Van Pad Bosch battling with Sebastian NG, although it is now the Panamanian in front. So it's Slater, Lammers, NG. Is there going to be a move for fourth from Delgado? He's going to try, but Van Pad Bosch makes it very tough to come through, so it's not going to happen just yet. Now, Paul Kaios is having a bit of a struggle with Sebastiano Pavan now. Looks as though Sebastiano Pavan has got through. There are the three fusion carts of Delgado, Robinson and Robinson. Still battling away. It's Edu in front of the 915 of Leo at the moment, although it's still very close up at the front end. What a clean race this is turning out to be. We've got 2 laps done, 5 to go, and so far, great racing, amazing driving standards, and amazing racecraft. But Freddie Slater out in front. René Lammers in second. Third place is Sebastian NG, the Panamanian. Oh, we've had an off. We've had an off at the back of the field. Now, that looks to me like Bogdan Ianut-Bria. Now, I did think he was going a bit slowly. He's had some technical problems by the look of it. And he's not come through. Now, it looks to me as though we've had another kart not come through. Well, 2 of them are down the order. Where is Bogdan Ianut-Bria? Is he still there towards the back of the field? No, I think he's come off. But Alfie Slater appears to be missing from the fray as well. So I wonder if they've come together. Alfie Slater seems to have dropped a long way down the order. I'm not sure what's happened to him. Whether it's a timing... No, it's a transponder issue. That's what it was. So we think Bogdan Ianut-Bria is out of the race with a mechanical problem because he was on his own down at the back of the field anyway, and it looks as though the car has just kicked the bucket, unfortunately. Meanwhile, it is Slater from Lammers, NG, Van Pad Bosch, Delgado, Robinson and Robinson, then Pavan, Kaios, Go, Outran, Levo, Ferrer and Flusha. And then it is Strovan, Ramakas, Gelada, Hopkins, Collis, Kovalevsky working his way very high up the field. Luna Flusha is doing well as well. She's up to 20th place now. 7 places made up for Luna Flusha. She clearly is going very well here. And then we've got Dylan Visser from Maria Gemononito, Rodrigo Seabra going well, Alfie Slater really struggling, Julian Jägers, Voik, Vausort, Lelor and Housley, who's not making the progress we thought he would. So Slater just checks over his shoulder. With 3 laps to go, how's the gap? It's massive as far as he's concerned. It's up the inside. Van Pad Bosch tries to make a move, but he's going to lose out to Robinson. He's let one through, and now the other's gone through as well. And Pavan's gone through. So too is likely to go Paul Kaios. But Delgado's gone through past Van Pad Bosch. And now so too... that's a move there from the 924. That's Sebastiano Pavan. Pavan makes the move there on the 915 of Leo Robinson. So Pavan comes through, and now Robinson's got him back again. Determination from the Robinson twins. Not related, of course, but they are in the same team. So they will clearly work together. It's an extended family, Robinson, by the look of it, in the Fusion squad, and they are acting very much in unison at the moment. But out in front, it is Freddie Slater, pulling away from René Lammers and Sebastian NG, who has now caught up to René Lammers. So NG, I thought he was looking pretty strong at Valencia. He was just getting into his stride there. But here at Mariembourg, Sebastian NG, the Panamanian, is having an amazing run. He really looks very confident indeed here, closing in on Lammers. 2 laps to go, and he can go for second, and he's going to! Sebastian NG dives at the inside and takes P2. Nicely done, but Lammers is going to try and get him back on the exit. It's up to NG to squeeze him out, but he's not going to. Oh, he tightens up! He's going to hold it round the outside. Great defence from Sebastian NG. Any other racing driver might have let that door come wide open, but Lammers is not going to be able to get through. Nicely done from NG, and now the Panamanian holds second place in front of René Lammers. We've got the battle for 4th position behind them. That is Leo and Edu Robinson. They've taken Guillermo Delgado with him, and so the 3 of them are running in formation. And then behind them, we've got Paul Kaios has fought his way back into 7th place now in front of Sebastiano Pavan, with William Go coming into the run of the top 10. They're all still trying to find a way past Sacha Van Pad Bosch, who started well, and then it's all sort of tumbled away behind him. He's struggling to hang on to the top 10 now. But for Freddie Slater, this is a walk in the park as far as he's concerned, just charging his way down the main straight in front of Sebastian NG and René Lammers. 1 lap to go, and for Freddie Slater, well, it's a Saturday morning cruise control mission, isn't it? The Robinsons are still battling away for 4th place, trying to get away from teammate Guillermo Delgado, as Paul Kaios moves up into 7th position at turn 1. So Paul Kaios has got through into P7 past Sebastiano Pavan. That was nicely done from him. Pavan is trying to now make his way back through. He's done that already, in fact. Sebastiano Pavan has clearly got through in turn 2, and now Kaios under some threat from Sacha Van Pad Bosch. But the leader, Freddie Slater, has built a massive advantage over Sebastian NG and René Lammers. So his initial worry was only a temporary one by the look of it, certainly at this stage of the weekend. I think there's more speed to come from René Lammers, but with that sort of racecraft at the start, you can bet he's going to be a big problem for Freddie Slater as the racing continues. Looks as though Freddie Housley with more problems down at the back of the field. Not entirely sure what the difficulty is with the kart, but he has come a long way down the order. But meanwhile, for Freddie Slater, it's going to be a victory, a dominant one. He romps to victory in the first heat. That'll do nicely. Sebastian NG, a fantastic second place in front of René Lammers. And then it is Leo in front of Edu Robinson. And they are side by side through turn 1, shaking hands, well, essentially, thumbs up at least, on a brilliant battle for 4th. Guillermo Delgado rounding out the top 6. But that man, Freddie Slater, continuing on as he did in Valencia, top dog. Very nicely done. Really good racing and sensational battles throughout. But I have to say, that was one of the cleanest mini races, full of great racing, full of great battles that I have ever seen. I know for a fact that in the driver's briefing yesterday, Martin Bean was very clear to the drivers about driving standards, particularly in the minis and juniors. And I tell you what, they have really paid attention. Freddie Slater takes the win from Sebastian Ng and René Lammers. Leo and Edu Robinson in 4th and 5th from Guillermo Delgado. Sebastiano Pavan and Paul Cayos from Sacha Van Bad Bosch and William Go. Lucas Flusha comes to 11th from Ferra. Then Louis Leveau and Thomas Drovan. Patrice Kovalevsky fights back to 15th in front of Zico Hopkins-Collis. Thibaut Ramekers and Dylan Visser. A great race from Luna Flusha to 19th from Thibaut Gelade. Maria Jimena Nito and Rodrigo Seabra. Julian Jägers and Alfie Slater. Henk Junior Voigt and Otto Vassot. Niels Lelor, Freddie Housley and Clement Outran comes home in last, with Bogdan Ianot-Bria rather sadly out of the race with mechanical difficulties. Fantastic race, though, from Freddie Slater. Once he got back into the lead from René Lammers, he drove away. And from Sebastian Ng in particular, that second-place finish, that's a coming-of-age race for the Panamanian. He totally deserves the plaudits for that, and it's going to be great to see how he goes. So now we come to the X30 shifter race, and this is a difficult race, really, for this weekend, because this is the class that has the fastest karts in the paddock, the gearbox category. It is the Formula One of karting, if you like, gearbox racing, and it's very, very tough for these drivers. There's a bit of a difficulty in terms of numbers for this one, a few numbers less than we were assuming we were going to have for the shifters. There's the timetable on your screen on the live stream. You can see we've got just the shifter first heat, which will be taking place in 8 minutes from now, and then we'll have the two senior heats 20 minutes after the shifter for the first, and then at 12:30 local time for the next heat, which is the fourth one for the seniors, and that's when we'll take our lunch break, folks. But with the shifter category, it is a little bit slim on numbers, to be fair, and it is very disappointing, because this is one of those classes that you always want to see great racing. It's pure, no-nonsense motorsport from the shifters. Standing starts, 0 to 60 in the same sort of speeds as a Bugatti Chiron will do, and these guys are a couple of millimetres off the ground with no seatbelts, fighting for supremacy. It's the ultimate discipline of karting. Unfortunately, though, because it's very technical, very tricky, and the modus operandi of karting seems to be more towards the direct drive karts, the shifter category has suffered a little bit for numbers coming to this first round of the championship. We don't quite have the same numbers that we had for the opening weekend of the 2019 campaign at Valencia. We had a good, strong grid of drivers there and some amazing racing, one of the best finals. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say the best shifter final I have ever seen at Valencia last time out, when the Winter Cup was won by the American talent Brad Benavides, who came back to karting for just the one weekend, and he's going to be taking on a campaign in, I think it's Formula Renault Euro Cup he's doing this year. So good luck to Brad Benavides. We miss you already, and good luck for the season. But we do have a championship to fight for in the European campaign of shifters. The reigning champion is back, and he's on home soil. Thierry Del Rey won the title in fantastic style in 2019. Had a bit of a difficult weekend to start the year in Salisbury's, but still came back to finish second in the pre-final and final. That was an amazing achievement, and that's what set the ball rolling for his title. Here at Mariembourg, he was a lot closer to the man who had taken the first victories, Sten Dorian Pirimagi. Mechanical problems in Wackersdorf for the Estonian opened the door for Del Rey to take the victory in both the pre-final and the final in Germany last year, before that dramatic incident, if you remember, last time out at Castelletto, the final round of the championship, when Pirimagi and Del Rey were dueling for the lead, and Pirimagi went over the back of Del Rey's Mach 1, and that was curtains for Pirimagi's championship. Unfortunately, he was out. Del Rey managed to continue and lifted the European crown as a result. Pirimagi is not here. He's now going to race cars, we believe, so good luck to the Estonian. But Thierry Del Rey wants to be back-to-back European champion. He knows what he's got to do. He's got a vested interest in the IAME Euro Series paddock, of course, now as a team manager, running one of the drivers in junior and senior as well with his Del Rey Racing squad, as well as championing his own efforts in X30 shifter. A bit of a difficult start from qualifying. He only managed to get a time in for 4th place, but he was on course to get a pole position lap. But unfortunately, a little trip over a curb in the second sector of his final flying lap was enough to knock back a couple of tenths of a second, so he bailed out of what could have been a pole position lap. Therefore, pole position went to his Swiss rival, Kevin Ludi, who's done an absolutely amazing job this season. The Spirit Racing kart definitely looking very, very strong. The Cosmic chassis and the team are obviously up for a bigger fight in the 2019 campaign. He managed to get the pole position ahead of the Greek star Dionysis Liveris. And I have to say, Liveris, having been in the championship before and has now come back into the shifter category, he looks really dialed in for this weekend. Dionysis Liveris could well be a bit of a dark horse in waiting, and I tip him for the podium overall this weekend, if not the victory. Philip Seaver, who is based in Switzerland these days, of course, but originally Canadian in origin. But Philippe Siever is there as teammate to Kevin Luddy, and he's going to be there from the inside line of the second row. And Thierry Del Rey will line up in fourth position on the grid for the first race of his championship defence. Then we will have Michel Bifiga, the Japanese driver, who is based now again in Switzerland, and he is there on the fifth position on the starting grid, alongside Eric Hellemans, who is on the Gillard chassis, and he'll be there in sixth position on the starting grid. And in row 7, it is Thierry Del Rey's teammate, Laurent Malisse, who made his debut for the squad last time out at the Valencia Winter Cup. Just the 7, unfortunately, but it is still shifter racing, so the start's going to be magic to watch. The battle and the strategy between the likes of Luddy, Liveres, Siever and Del Rey is going to be absolutely brilliant. But you have to take into account as well that Michel Bifiga has actually gained a lot of pace compared to last year. He had his moments in 2018, but he was one of those drivers that at times looked a little bit hit, miss or maybe, to coin a phrase. But this year, he's much closer to the pace of Luddy and Siever. He's much more consistent, he's much more solid, and his practice times tell you everything you need to know. He is much closer to the front end of the field. So it could be a 5-way fight for the title if practice times are anything to go by. Hellemans and Laurent Malisse, the two Belgians, need to get a little bit further to the pace, but they should do that coming through these heats. They had some difficulties yesterday in practice and qualifying, but there is a good chance that they will fight their way through, especially from the warm-up this morning. Their times are much more representative of what we're going to see from them. Just looking at the warm-up times from this morning, we saw Hellemans in fourth place on the times with a 55.3. So that's a lot stronger than we saw previously. Laurent Malisse still needing to gain a little bit of time, but we should see a lot of raw pace from them as they continue on their way. The shifter category is always a good one to watch in terms of the action, because there's always going to be some of that from the standing start. But we'll see some really, truly spectacular race action from these shifters as the battle is going to get joined very soon. And I do genuinely believe this is going to be a 4-way fight potentially for the title. You've got Kevin Luddy, who is absolutely determined to go one up on his performances last year. He had a lot of mechanical problems that beset him through the 2018 campaign. He could have had a run for the title himself last year had that not been the case. You've got the reigning European champion who starts his campaign on home soil, Thierry Del Rey, who could have been pole position yesterday very, very easily had it not been for that slight trip over the curbs on his final flying lap. He could have been pole position had it not been for that, so we'll see what he does from fourth on the grid. Dionysis Liveris is looking so strong. He really has the ability to go for victory here today, and that could spur him on to a fight for the title. The Greek star looks so composed this weekend. We'll see what he does with it. And from third on the grid as well, Philippe Siever is looking just as competitive and just as fast as Kevin Luddy. So we may well see a bit of a challenge from him. But if Michel Bifiga keeps his development running from fifth position, who knows? You may well see him grab a victory or two over the course of this season. There may not be many of them, but it's still going to be ultra competitive. The start line is still going to be spectacular because it always is. And I hate to make anybody jealous, but being here overlooking the start-finish line from my commentary box, I really do have one of the best seats in the house for this shifter start. It's one of my favourite things about gearbox karting. That start can make or break the rest of the race. And it's ridiculously competitive off the line. You get to see so many incredible charges through. I've seen some amazing starts from the line in shifters of late. And they are full of drama, intrigue, sometimes chaos. We saw the final of last time out of Valencia. Casper Corjus from pole position was sent into the tyre barriers and effectively out of the race just because there were 3 drivers going wide. We saw Carlos Leon there as well, trying to dart his way through with Carlos Martinez. All 3 of those sadly not here for this one. I would have liked to have seen all 3 of them continue on for the first round, but hopefully they'll be back in time for Castelletto. Here we go. The drivers come out onto the grid, and it's going to be a very exciting run for shifters once again. So here is the grid. Kevin Luddy in front of the Greek star Dionysis Liveris. Then Philippe Siever alongside Thierry Del Rey, the reigning European champion. Michel Bifiga lines up in P5 from Eric Hellemans. And then it is Laurent Malisse who is there together in 7th on the grid. 11 laps around this circuit. It's going to be fast and frenetic in these shifter categories. But it's hard to predict who's going to get the victory. Kevin Luddy, Dionysis Liveris, Philippe Siever and Thierry Del Rey are all very closely matched. Michel Bifiga is much closer to the pace than he was in 2018. So he's made a big developmental change. And whatever he's doing, he needs to keep doing it because it's working for him. Now, this is a circuit that tends to suit the direct drive karts much better. The minis, juniors and seniors, a lot of the drivers are loving it. It's a bigger challenge for the shifters because you've got that combination of very fast and flowing straights and fast turns at the start of the lap, and then you've got the tight and twisties, as one driver referred it to me yesterday, in the second half of the lap. That makes it a big challenge in terms of setup for the shifters, because which way do you go? Do you go for pure speed through the faster first section of the lap, or do you go for the tight and twisties? Because if you get that right in the more technical section of the circuit on the second half of the lap, that could mean you get an opportunity to go for a decent move on the inside of the final corner. But the speed, you can build up a bit of a gap to stop that happening. So it's a great technical challenge. And different drivers have different interpretations on how to get their karts set up for this circuit. It's one of the things I love about the dynamicism of this particular class in shifter. So Ludi, Liveris, Siva, Del Rey, Biffiger, Hellemans and Malise. There's going to be some really good racing from these guys. It may not be the biggest grid in the world, but you've got to remember that when life gives you lemons, drink lemonade like it's water. So the drivers are going to go for it and have an amazing race. They'll come up to the grid and line up on that starting grid next time around. You get 2 rolling laps, of course. And then when they come around, they won't form into the tram lines. They'll stop on the grid positions at the front end of the field. And that's when they will be allowed to be released when the lights go out, and they will gung-ho for the first corner. And it is not a long run to that first corner. It's quite short. So the drivers will obviously have to be very, very careful about how they get away. And if there's one driver at the front who gets a poor start, it could be absolute pandemonium on the way through to the first apex. I would say that that's only about 20 metres to the first corner. So it's a very short run to turn 1 for the shifters, which is going to make things electric if anything does go wrong on the first half of the lap. So the drivers will get themselves into position. Kevin Ludi from pole position in front of the Greek star Dionysis Liveris, Philippe Siva and Thierry Del Rey, the reigning European champion on the Mach 1 chassis. We'll see how he goes. But for the pole sitter Kevin Ludi, this is a big opportunity. He knows that a good performance here this weekend could set him on the road to become European champion in 2019. Ludi on the inside line, Dionysis Liveris on the outside line. Then it is Philippe Siva and Thierry Del Rey, Michel Biviga, Eric Hellemans and Laurent Malise. They get into their positions on the grid. There's not a lot of space to get this wrong. The lights will come on, and when they go out, we'll be racing in the first heat of the weekend. They are all ignited, away we go, and it's an amazing start from Philippe Siva, who blasts through into the lead on the first corner. Amazing start from Siva. So he leads his teammate Kevin Ludi. Then it is Dionysis Liveris and Thierry Del Rey. So Philippe Siva gets the best start from the second row of the grid, and he comes up into first position from his teammate Kevin Ludi. Then it is Dionysis Liveris, Thierry Del Rey, Michel Biviga going to make the move on the inside of Del Rey into turn 4 and gets the move. So nicely done from Biviga. He's now into P4. So it is the Spirit Racing Cosmic Chassis 1 and 2 with Siva in front of Ludi. And what a start it has turned out to be for them. An exciting run. Have they swapped positions? No, they are still in the places they were. I wasn't sure if Kevin Ludi had got through on Siva or not, but Siva is now still leading the race from Kevin Ludi, then Dionysis Liveris, and in 4th place it is Michel Biviga in front of Thierry Del Rey. So Del Rey down to 5th is under pressure from his Belgian countryman Eric Hellemans. Has Del Rey got some kind of problem? Because Eric Hellemans has swept past him on the way to turn 1. Del Rey down to 6th. I wonder if he's got some kind of mechanical problem already, because he's now just slipped by Eric Hellemans to the inside line and taken the place. Laurent Malise, his Del Rey's teammate, is not far behind him. So it's going to be a really interesting race from here on in as far as Thierry Del Rey is concerned. The European champion's defence of the crown is not going with the best of intent. So Siva leads the way from Ludi in 2nd. Liveris is 3rd from Bifiga. And then it is Hellemans in P5. 6th position for Del Rey and his teammate Laurent Malise. Now, Malise might get held up here by his teammate and team leader, so there's a chance that Del Rey may end up having to let him go. So we'll double check and see what happens as they come through onto the main straight at the end of lap 2. It's an 11-lap heat, don't forget. But Siva leads the way comfortably. Ludi 2nd, then Liveris, Bifiga, Hellemans, and there is no Del Rey. Del Rey has let his teammate go, and Del Rey's got mechanical problems. Oh, I thought it might have been that, but Del Rey has dropped to the back of the field and he's let Laurent Melis go a long way in front. As up the inside, oh dear! Biffiger nearly slides into the side pod of Dionysis Lividis into turn 3. He backs out of the move just in time, but that was so close for Biffiger. Almost took him out of the race. But for Thierry Del Rey, I'm afraid to say he is travelling slowly. There he is, and it looks like he is going to be out of the first race of the weekend. What a tragic case of events for the reigning European champion. There he is in the background, just tootling around, and I have a feeling he's going to make his way into the pits at the end of this lap to retire. Well, big drama, and that's really started his weekend on the wrong foot. So here comes Philip Seaver leading the way, and it's a perfect start as far as he is concerned. Seaver leads, Ludi second, Lividis third, Biffiger fourth, Hellemans is fifth, and in sixth place, that is Laurent Melis. They come through on the far side of the circuit, up in towards turn 3. Is Biffiger going to try again on Lividis? So he breaks so much later than Lividis, but as a result, he doesn't get the quite same sort of speed off of turn 3, but he's able to make a massive amount of time back as they come through the faster sections of the circuit. What I was talking about before the race, it almost looks as if it's playing out between Lividis and Biffiger. So Lividis looks like he's set up the kart for the technical twisty section of the course with all the hairpins and the chicanes, because he seems to really excel there and get a bit of a gap on Biffiger. Whereas Biffiger seems to have set up the kart for the straight and narrow, the faster section of the circuit, and that's where he seems to make a lot of the gains. So this could be very interesting from here on out. There's your leader, Philip Seaver. 7 to go, in front of teammate Kevin Luddy. Lividis and Biffiger still having an amazing scrap for third position. We need to watch these guys because they're clearly set up for different types of condition. Look, Biffiger is faster in this speedy section of the circuit with the long straights and flowing corners, and that's where he is stronger. Lividis seems to have a better handling for the kart in the technical section of the circuit. It's from about here on in that Lividis is going to have a stronger kart than Biffiger, based on the way they've been behaving and the body language of the karts at the moment. But as those two duel over third position, closing them up is the Belgian talent, Eric Hellemans. Hellemans is closing in and starting to close up into a battle for third position. So down the short stretch. Oh, and there's problems. Problems for Lividis. Lividis has broken down. Lividis has come to a stop. Lividis has come to a stop on the way into the pits. So Lividis suffers the same fate as Thierry Del Rey. Del Rey's already brought it in, and now Lividis does the same. Oh no, Thierry Del Rey has a mechanical problem, and now so too does Dionysis Lividis. So from third position, Lividis is out. So it's 1, 2, 3 for Spirit at the moment. Seaver, Ludi and Biffiger, but Eric Hellemans has made a massive amount of time thanks to Lividis slowing the field up a little. So Biffiger could have a bit of a challenge here from Eric Hellemans. And you have to remember that Eric Hellemans knows this place incredibly well. Being from this country, racing here is very much common knowledge to Eric. He'll know this track very well indeed. And being here on the European stage, he has a chance to go for a podium finish in his first race of the weekend. But that's devastating that two of the names who could have gone for victory in this race, Thierry Del Rey and Dionysis Lividis, both of them are now out. What a shame. So it's just the three Spirit drivers, up in front. Seaver, Ludi and Biffiger. Then Hellemans in fourth and Laurent Melis in fifth. They are the only ones that remain after Del Rey's retirement and now Dionysis Lividis retiring as well. Well, that's drama. The two big names from the sharp end of the field that could have challenged the Spirit team's supremacy have not been able to do so. So Seaver leads, Ludi second, Biffiger third, Hellemans fourth and Melis in fifth. It's the three Spirits in front of the two Belgian privateers. Well, I say Belgian privateers. Laurent Melis is not actually a privateer, is he? He's part of the Del Rey racing squad. His teammate is already sadly out of the race. But as far as Kevin Ludi is concerned, it's two of his main rivals out of contention, but he would be a little bit frustrated to see his teammate fly past him at the start. Philip Seaver, who's used that mega start and is just continuing the pace. There is Kevin Ludi, running very well in second place, and the Spirit squad will be delighted to eclipse the top three if things stay as they are. But from Kevin Ludi's point of view, I think he might have hoped that it would be him in the lead rather than Philip Seaver, who sets another new fastest lap, a 54.141, which is very fast indeed around this Mariembourg circuit. And Philip Seaver just in the rhythm that he wants to be. But the race has seen two retirements, Dionysis Lividis and Thierry Del Rey, the reigning European champion, out of luck, and the first one out of the race with mechanical problems that started well, technically speaking, you could argue they started yesterday and they've just ended up causing a big problem in the first heat. But the nature of this class, meaning that there's with 7 karts on the field, he can restart from his 4th position for the 2 heats later and hopefully bounce back with some solid finishes. But Philip Siever has 3 laps to go, and that mega start off the line when he blasted up the inside of Ludi and Liveris has given him the perfect start to his weekend. And from Philip Siever's point of view, that's the perfect race. He's just got to keep it going for the last 2.5 laps. There's Michel Bifiga. Very impressed indeed with him, the Japanese star who's based in Switzerland these days. Michel Bifiga doing a fantastic job and really, really deserving of this 3rd place. He's made a massive developmental jump since last season and is much closer to the pace of Siever and Ludi. You've only got to look at his lap times. Siever's on a 54.141. Ludi on a 54.329. Well, Bifiga's on a 54.353. So he's almost matching Ludi's pace. There was a couple of tenths of a second, 3/10, 4/10 of a second at times between those two in terms of 1 lap pace. Bifiga is so much closer to Ludi in raw pace this time. And there used to be a mammoth gap of about 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so developing between those two. Not anymore. There's Erik Hellemans, 4th position. Erik Hellemans on the Gillard chassis, running in 4th place at the moment, trying to close up on Michel Bifiga in front of him. It's not easy when you've got the mammoth might of that team that's been the fighting force of this field. It's the major team effort of the shifter category. But this is still the championship where running as a privateer is fairly acceptable and certainly a winning formula. But the Spirit team just running out in front with a lap and a half to go. And it's all about Philip Siever from that magnificent start. And he's running very well indeed. We're just waiting for the absentees to put their entry in for round 2 at Castelletto. And we'll get a good grid for the shifters once again. But Valencia gave us plenty of exciting things to talk about. Kevin Ludi, who is in 2nd position behind this man, Philip Siever, was on the podium. Brad Benavides, the man who took the title. But these two running very well. Siever and Ludi in the lead of the race. There is Philip Siever on the last lap. And his teammate Kevin Ludi chasing him down with Michel Bifiga doing well to hold on in front of Erik Hellemans. Laurent Melisse still circulating round in 5th position, but running quite a way off the back of Erik Hellemans. Though clearly the pace is not quite there yet with Laurent Melisse. There is the checkered flag. It is coming for Philip Siever, Kevin Ludi and Michel Bifiga, who are going to complete the triple 1, 2, 3 over the finish line. But Philip Siever with that magnificent start, blasting through the front row on the inside line with millimetres to spare. Either side of the kart from Ludi's kart to the grass, has stormed through to take the victory and turned it into pure pace. Philip Siever takes the first heat of the weekend from Kevin Ludi in 2nd place. Michel Bifiga is 3rd from Erik Hellemans in 4th place. And Laurent Melisse is going to come home in 5th position. But the story is very telling for the 2 drivers who could have taken the win away from the leaders up front. Dionysis Liveris and Thierry Del Rey both having mechanical problems. Del Rey, while trying to stay in the fight, and Dionysis Liveris, while running 3rd, having mechanical problems that saw him out of the race. So, a very dramatic start to proceedings. But for Philip Siever, it's the perfect start. What an amazing way to kick off his race. And he set the fastest lap of the race in the process, a 54.141, a 51-second lap. Really would be an achievement. Philip Siever, Kevin Ludi and Michel Bifiga make it a hat-trick for the Spirit Racing karts up front. Erik Hellemans is 4th. It's Laurent Melisse who's actually 5th. The 2 retirees, though, the men who could have won this race, Dionysis Liveris and Thierry Del Rey. 7 laps to go for Liveris, 9 to go for Thierry Del Rey. Difficult start to the weekend for the pair of them. So just 2 senior races to go. As you can see on the live stream, we have got the 2 senior races to go for the morning session. And that's going to be a really exciting battle for them, as we're going to see qualifying groups A versus E. And for the E group drivers, it is the first time we'll see them racing this weekend. So Rimo Kadapik retakes his position at the front of the grid after his pole position yesterday. Alongside him on the grid is going to be a lot of people's favourite for the championship, Joey van Splunteren. The Dutchman was runner-up last year, and he wants to take the title in the 2019 season, despite the jokes he was telling me in Valencia that he's getting too old to do it. Hogwash. He is still incredibly fast. He is one of the best drivers in this paddock and always has been at our GMMC events. And Joey van Splunteren is a man you cannot deny as one of the best at his craft in the world, never mind in Europe. So Joey van Splinteren is definitely a title contender. Danny Curl will retake his place on the second row of the grid alongside the Australian talent Sean Butcher, who gave me a commentary sheet today that told me that his main achievement, his main target in motor racing is to beat me in F1 2018 on the Xbox. Well, that's never going to happen, Sean. Moving into the third row of the grid, Jordan Brown-Nutley on the inside line is going to retake his position on row 3. Alongside him on the grid, I'm delighted to say, is the American star Rhys Ushijima, the Piers Sexton Racing driver, finally getting the qualifying jinx off his back. He's had so much bad luck in qualifying ever since he came to Europe, essentially. And this weekend, it's finally gone right. He's finally showing he's got the speed to be at the sharp end. His ultimate ambition is to go and win in Indy cars and the Indy 500. And I genuinely feel he's got the ability to. He's shown it in racecraft. He's just had to do so from the back of the grid for most of his career. Now, at the front end of the grid, you'll get to see what he can do. Ruben Moya and Morgan Porter will share the fourth row of the starting grid, and Morgan Porter is definitely one of the drivers who can charge his way through. From the fourth row of the grid, he hasn't got too much work to do, but from the outside row, it will be tricky. Thomas Fleming retakes his position on the fifth row of the starting grid, and he lines up alongside the Hungarian star Bodicar Szabo on the Tony car. Then it is Georgi Dimitrov alongside the German talent Patrick Degenbeck. And then we'll have Guilherme de Oliveira and Nelson King, who comes to the European Series. And Nelson will be very quick indeed, I can tell you that. Romain Leroux lines up beside Manel Golofratone, the Spanish driver. And then we have Hans Morin beside the Dutchman Rivaldo van der Westerleken. Then we have Kobe Powells, who hopefully will be going a little bit further than the main straight in this race. He broke down in race 1 earlier, and it was devastating. He didn't even get to race for the CV Performance Group. Alongside him on the grid, though, is Nicolas Pico. He's there on the 10th row of the starting grid. Then it's Jack Deakin alongside the Japanese star Douglas Bolger. Then it is Robin Knudsen alongside Luca Medunitsa, who did such a great job in Valencia as a new boy to the championship. William Orton lines up beside Harry Barlow, two young guns who basically run essentially as privateer entries, but they have so much talent behind them. Will Orton is a former FIA Karting Academy selectee for Great Britain last year. Harry Barlow's been a great talent in club racing out in the United Kingdom and has taken this championship as his main challenge and main focus for 2019. Then we have Alicia Barrett, who was the first woman ever to win any kind of race in the IAME Euro Series. She won a B final last year, and just like her fellow racer Matilda Olsen, who became the first woman to win in a heat in Valencia, is hoping that this is another strong season for her. Alicia Barrett lines up beside Oliver Fürstenhoff, who's one of the new faces in the grid. We're hoping to see him go very well. Rufus Hunt will line up beside the Japanese driver Masato Awada, and then at the back of the field it is going to be the German ace Sandro Ritz, who will be in the Lenzo chassis, the only driver in the field to run with the Lenzo kart. So the drivers are going to go around the circuit again for 11 further laps, and it's going to be quite exciting to see how those drivers fare. You can see Bodicar Szabo there for the Dimes Racing team, the Hungarian. There's the M-Sport driver Morgan Porter. Rhys Ushijima on the Paralin chassis. There's Sean Butcher, the Mick Barrett Racing driver, getting himself ready to go the Australian. But from the front row of the grid on the outside line, Joey van Splinteren will be very much the man to beat if he gets a good start. As the drivers are being ready to be sent out, you can just about make out the time there, local time on the digiboard here, 30 seconds until they are sent out. Mario will give them the command from the exit of the pit lane and send them out onto the circuit, as they will do battle half of the grid for the first time today. The other half will obviously know a little bit about what the crack is around this circuit, but it's going to be very tough indeed. These guys are pushing for every single sector they can get out of their karts, and in the senior category, it is yet again the main event. Essentially, as much as we love watching the minis and the juniors, all over the world, the karting fraternity love to watch the seniors at play. Once you become a senior and you turn 14, it's make or break in terms of your career to go to single-seaters or to become the best in the world at karting. Rimo Kadapik and Joey van Splinteren on the front row of the grid from Danny Curl and Sean Butcher, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Reese Ushijima, then Ruben Moya and Morgan Porter, Thomas Fleming and Boldachar Szabo from Georgi Dimitrov and Patrick Diggenbeck, Guillermo de Oliveira, Nelson King, Roman Leroux and Manel Golofre, then Hannes Morin and Rivaldo van der Westerlaken from Kobe Powells and Nicolas Pico, Jack Deakin and Douglas Bolger, Robin Knudsen and Luca Medunitsa, Will Orton and Harry Barlow, Alicia Barrett and Oliver Fürstenhoff, then Rufus Hunt, Masato Awada and Sandro Ritz. So again, the drivers are getting up to speed, warming up the tyres and brakes, getting themselves into position. 2 laps around the circuit, they'll get into the corridors. And once we've got a clean start, Martin Bean will give them the command to charge through to turn 1. Only 20 metres to turn 1, of course. So it's not going to be the easiest of motions to get there, although they do tend to turn the lights out at the white line just a little further back from the start-finish line. But it's still not a very long run to the first corner around this circuit. And the timing beacon itself is actually at the checkered flag line. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the drivers fare. But we're going to see some really exciting racing at Mariembourg. We saw some electrifying battles in the 2018 running of this event when it was round 2 of the championship. As round 1, everybody is still trying to get up to speed and learn the craft of these karts. Some of them for the first time in this category, having stepped up from the junior category last year. And already some stellar performances and some stand-up efforts from a lot of the drivers in this category. Rimo Kadapik in particular, the pole position he set yesterday, I'm fairly sure, his first in the IAME Euro Series paddock. And it was great to see him get there. So Kadapik, Van Splinteren, Curl, Butcher, Brown-Nutley, Ushijima, Moya, Porter, Fleming and Szabo in the top 10, with plenty of drivers through the field wanting to charge their way further forward. This is going to be quite a tough race, as they all know, but it's time to wake up and pay attention and charge down to turn 1. It's not a long run to that first corner, so you've got to get it right straight from the off, and that midfield is going to be quite tight. Out they come, final turn, Kadapik controlling the pace and making sure they run quite steadily. He is backing the field up. Kadapik, Van Splinteren, Curl, Butcher, Brown-Nutley, Ushijima, Moya, Porter, Fleming, Szabo. Here we go. The engine revs rise. It's going to be a perfect start. Away we go. And Danny Curl breaks into second place, assisted by Jordan Brown-Nutley. But Joey Van Splinteren, who uses plenty of grip round the outside, puts 2 wheels on the grass, trying to squeeze out Brown-Nutley, still to the outside line, and has to concede in the end. Moya gets through as well, so Van Splinteren down to 5th place in front of Reese Ushijima. But out in front, it is Kadapik from Curl, then Brown-Nutley, Moya, Ushijima having a look on the inside of Van Splinteren, decides to back down from it, and he might lose out. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there from Ushijima, ending up getting nudged out there, squeezed by, I think that's going to be someone on the likes of Fleming or Porter, and we had a couple of offs further down the order as the dust flies, but Ushijima, I think, has managed to stay relatively in position as a result of all of that. He may have only lost the one. Oh, and a bit of a moment there as Kadapik and Curl come together. And that's Brown-Nutley going through to the lead. Moya going through to second. Kadapik trying to get back on the inside line. A big squabble out of the final corners. Goodness me. It's a shuffle of the deck. And Jordan Brown-Nutley leads the way. Here comes Curl up the inside of Kadapik, assisted by Van Splinteren. Butcher's going to get through there as well. I think, no, Butcher ends up getting squeezed back. Goodness me, this is a tight battle. Brown-Nutley leads the way. Moya is second. Then it's Curl, Van Splinteren, and Kadapik. Now that's not Kadapik anymore. That's Porter through on Van Splinteren. So Porter gets up into, that's got to be 5th position. No, it's 4th place now, isn't it? Morgan Porter and Van Splinteren. Then Kadapik, then Ushijima, Sean Butcher, Dimitrov, and Fleming. Goodness me. I said this was going to be a fast and furious race. I didn't think it would happen this quickly. Goodness. So Brown-Nutley leads the way. Ruben Moy is going to have a look, but there's a little concertina effect behind as Curl is trying to get through on the inside of Ruben Moya and has not quite been able to get there. Morgan Porter trying to assess the damage and goes for the inside of Danny Curl. Morgan Porter through to 3rd place, and Joey Van Splinteren goes with him. Brilliant racing. Kadapik makes the move to hold off Reese Ushijima. And up the inside, there goes Kadapik making a late bid to get past Moya. I think that is, no, sorry, that's not Moya. That is, well, that's got to be Sean Butcher, I believe. So indeed, Butcher is squeezed a little wide there. Risa Shijima getting punted around in a little bit of battle there. And who else was getting a little bit of a knock? That's the 404 taking a bit of a punt. That's Thomas Fleming, front and rear, bouncing around in the pack. It's getting very feisty. They've got to be very careful, of course, because they don't want to get a front fairing penalty. So Jordan Brown-Nutley leads the way. Ruben Moyer in second. Then that is Joey Van Spunteren, having fought his way back to third in front of Morgan Porter. Then Danny Curl, the former world champion, in fifth position. And in sixth place, I believe that's Risa Jajima, having got back through on Kanapik, and Georgi Dimitrov's gone with him. So, a good start to the race for Jordan Brown-Nutley. He leads the way in front of Ruben Moyer. Third place is Joey Van Spunteren. Will he go for the move? Yes, he does. It's a late lunge, but it's Joey Van Spunteren at his best into second as Risa Jajima makes the move on Danny Curl. Curl is going to get him back on the switchback, and Dimitrov is going to go with him. Great battling in the top 10. But still, plenty of racing to go as Joey Van Spunteren now tries to close up on the race leader, Jordan Brown-Nutley. Moyer third, Curl fourth. It's Porter fourth. Curl is fifth. Then it's Dimitrov and Ushijima. Up the inside for the lead comes Joey Van Spunteren, dives for the inside and takes the move. So Joey Van Spunteren gets the lunge, but up the inside again comes Jordan Brown-Nutley. That opens the door for Moyer. He doesn't take advantage of it. And it's very tight up to the chicane. Joey Van Spunteren all over the back of Jordan Brown-Nutley trying to come through, and there's no way by. Jordan Brown-Nutley absolutely resolute that he's going to lead and win this one going away, but Joey Van Spunteren has other ideas. Here they come down the straight. Third position, that is now Morgan Porter in front of Ruben Moyer. Up the inside, Joey Van Spunteren's going to squeeze. Jordan Brown-Nutley takes the lead. Superb! The Dutchman gets back into the lead, and this time he's not going to leave the door open. As diving at the inside, Danny Curl makes the move on Ruben Moyer. Dimitrov and Ushijima come next in the fray from Sean Butcher. But Morgan Porter now senses an opportunity to go for Jordan Brown-Nutley. He senses he's vulnerable, having lost out to Joey Van Spunteren. Now Morgan Porter might try to go for the move on the inside of the next right-hander. Does he squeeze through? Not with Jordan Brown-Nutley protecting the inside line. He won't. Go through to the left square. And up on the run to the next double left. The fast one, break into the hairpin. Morgan Porter not going to get through on Jordan Brown-Nutley just there. Danny Curl waiting in the wings in fourth. From Ruben Moyer, Georgi Dimitrov, Sean Butcher, Rish Ushijima, Hans Morin and Nelson King has come up into 10th position from P14. Great charge from Nelson King. Down the main straight, and Van Spunteren leads commandingly from Jordan Brown-Nutley. It's going to be a late lunge for second from Porter, and he's got it. Danny Curl's going to try and get through on the inside of Jordan Brown-Nutley as well. He commits to the move, and the Birrell Middle East driver gets through in a third place. Brilliant. So through he goes into turn 3, and Danny Curl is now third in front of Brown-Nutley. Next up for him is the Spaniard Ruben Moyer. He's going to have to defend from him valiantly. Then we've got Georgi Dimitrov, Sean Butcher, and then it's Hans Morin, Nelson King, and Rhys Ushijima, who seems to have had a poor couple of laps there. Not what he wanted. But Joey Van Spunteren leads the way. Morgan Porter, second place. Third position is now Danny Curl, having got past Jordan Brown-Nutley, as we saw. So now let's see if Danny Curl can sprint away from Jordan Brown-Nutley. It's going to be a tough battle from here on in, and he knows it. But Danny Curl wants to get back on toes. So Morgan Porter is getting a little bit tight and twisty behind them as they shuffle for position. It's Moyer in fifth, Dimitrov in sixth. Butcher is trying to get some cooperated moves from Hans Morin. Morin tries to dive up the inside. He loses ground. And up the inside, sweeping past both of them, is going to come Nelson King. Nelson King's going to take Rhys Ushijima with him. He only manages to get past one of them. Butcher's not going to let him through. Nelson King gets through on Hans Morin. Rhys Ushijima does not. And tight in behind him, that's Tom Fleming. Wow. And next up is Remo Kadapik, who started from pole position and is all the way down in 12th. That just shows you how competitive it is in seniors. A really good lap in qualifying means nothing unless you can put it into a race victory on the track. And Joey Van Spunteren is doing just that. His rivals on the sidelines will be watching his pace and taking a huge gulp of breath. Joey Van Spunteren is that fighting force we know him to be, formidable at his craft. And if anybody's going to beat Joey Van Spunteren today, they've got to be on their A game. Danny Curl, second place. Here comes third position. Jordan Brown-Nutley up the inside, and Morgan Porter gets the move. So Jordan Brown-Nutley gets through. Morgan Porter immediately trying to come back at him for the M Sport team. In third position, trying to break into it, but Jordan Brown-Nutley is there for Strawberry. But he's not going to lose that place too easily. Morgan Porter still putting weight into the move. And now Georgi Dimitrov behind him gets the move on Ruben Moyer. So Dimitrov comes through. Ushijima's being pounded around like a pinball as Kadapik and Fleming have both got through. And it looks like Nicolas Pico is going to be the next one to try and make the move. Terrific racing in the Senior X30s. When isn't it? It's always exciting. It's never dull. A warning flag now this time going out to Romain Leroux. So Romain Leroux has had a bit of an issue of some kind. Boldicar Jabo now closing up on Risa Shijima through the technical section of the circuit, looking for a feisty move to come through. But over the line, Joey Van Splinteren will have 3 laps to go this time, and is being caught by Danny Curl. It's going to be a proper squabble behind as Sean Butcher tries to fend off Ruben Moya and Nelson King. So Sean Butcher has done that for the moment, but Ruben Moya is trying to keep Nelson King at bay. Hans Morin is right behind him. Thomas Fleming, Rimo Kanapik, and then it is Boldicar Jabo trying to close up on the... Well, that's one of the strawberry drivers. That's got to be Nicolas Pico. Reese Ishijima, sadly, has now fallen back behind the likes of... that's going to be Patrick Diggenbeck and Douglas Bolger, I believe. So they've come through. But what a performance this is from Danny Curl, pushing onto the back of Joey Van Splinteren. He's not letting the Dutchman get away with this. He wants to fight him right to the finish, and he's going to have to if he wants to take the victory away from him. Up to the far side. Final turn. Back on the power. Let the kart flow out, get back on the power and up through the kink. You get very close up to the curbs, kissing the curbs on the way through, down the main straight and up into that first corner once again. Sweeping through, plenty of power and pace. 2 to go. And it's Joey Van Splinteren who leads from Danny Curl. Jordan Brown-Nutley in 3rd position. For 4th, there's going to be a change. Georgi Dimitrov up the inside of Morgan Porter. Dimitrov gets through. Nice work from the Bulgarian. He is through then. Georgi Dimitrov, based in the United Kingdom these days, of course, Georgi. But he's battling away with Morgan King. Sean Butcher in 6th place, the Australian, also based in the UK. They ride through that middle section of the circuit. Very tight and technical. Danny Curl still not giving up on Joey Van Splinteren. He wants to prove that he can handle it. But of course he can. 2017 world champion Danny Curl, right in behind Joey Van Splinteren, the last year vice champion in the X30 Euro Senior Series. And Danny Curl's just got a fantastic exit out of the final corner. He's going to get a lot of speed on Joey Van Splinteren down this main straight. He may make a move into turn 2. He's not going to be close enough for turn 1, but if he nails this, he might have a good challenge into 2 or into 3. He's not quite close enough, I don't think, for turn 2, but he might spring a surprise on Van Splinteren towards 3. Danny Curl not giving up. He wants to go for the victory on Joey Van Splinteren. There's still plenty of opportunity to do it as they come up towards 4. No move yet from Curl. He's not quite close enough, but he will be in a couple of corners. Joey Van Splinteren, he's going to need to watch his back. Up through the right-hander. Will he make the move into the next ride? Joey Van Splinteren protects beautifully to the inside line. Danny Curl can't come by. Up through to the left. And Joey Van Splinteren again protects the inside line like stink. Can he find a way by? Danny Curl may have to wait for the final turn to make the perfect slingshot. Joey Van Splinteren trying to make the kart as wide as possible, but Danny Curl is still edging towards him. Here he comes. Joey Van Splinteren protects, dives for the inside line. Danny Curl's going to try and get the switch back. Joey Van Splinteren cuts across. Watch out for Jordan Brown-Nutley. He could snatch second on the line from Danny Curl, but Joey Van Splinteren gets it. What a race. What a battle. I'm too old for this, says Joey Van Splinteren. Rubbish. Absolutely amazing. Joey Van Splinteren still got it and is still the best at his game when he's on fire out in the lead. Brilliant. Danny Curl 2nd. Jordan Brown-Nutley 3rd. From Dimitrov, Porter, Butcher, King, Morin, Fleming and Katapik. Sensational is the only word that can describe Joey Van Splinteren when he's in ultra defense mode. Even the world champion can't beat him. Joey Van Splinteren takes the victory from 2017 world champ Danny Curl. Jordan Brown-Nutley 3rd from Georgi Dimitrov and Morgan Porter. Sean Butcher in 6th place from Nelson King and Hans Morin. Thomas Fleming and Rimo Kanapik. Then Nicolas Pico and Boldicar Jabo. 13th is Ruben Moya in front of Patrick Diggenbeck. Reese Ushijima rather struggling to hold on in front of Douglas Bolger, his countryman. Guilherme de Oliveira and Robin Knudsen come next from Manel Godofratone and Roman Leroux. Then Luca Medunitsa and Alicia Barrett, Rivaldo van der Westerlaken and Jack Deacon. Then Will Orton in front of Kobe Powells, Rufus Hunt and Oliver Fürstenhoff from Masato Awada, Harry Barlow and Sandro Ritz. Not a single retirement, and again from the front to the back, 16 seconds. That's how good it is in Senior X30. I'd be 16 seconds a lap slower than each driver in this field. But amazing to watch how close it is in this category. One more race before our lunch break here at Mariembourg for the first round of the 2018? Well, I'm obviously living in the past. 2019 Champions of the Future IAME X30 Euro Series. Promoted by RGMMC, supported by Alpine Stars, and an amazing season ahead of us. It's clearly going to be a good one with the racing we've had so far. And we now move into the next heat, which is for Groups B versus C in the Senior Brigade. And it's going to be good. A really good heat with lots of good talent in this one. Pole position is the reigning X30 Euro Junior champion, Lewis Gilbert, stepping up to seniors this year and finding himself on the inside line alongside the man who drives for the team that Lewis was in last year, KR Sports' Philip Vava, on the front row of the starting grid. On the inside line of row 2, it's Clayton Ravenscroft, the man who seems to win everything he touches at the moment. Won the first heat earlier on, of course, and now hoping to continue on in Heat 2 behind his former stablemate, Lewis Gilbert, on pole position. But Marty Boyer is there on the second row of the grid in P4. The Spanish starlet, who won last year's FIA Karting Academy trophy, is going to be a sensational champion in waiting. Matteo Raspatelli on home soil will start from P5. Watch out for him. He knows this place like the back of his hand, and the Belgian will be very hard to beat if he gets into a strong position. Alex Lloyd, shadowing Matty Boyer's every move in qualifying yesterday, ahead of him in the point standings in the junior battle last year, only beaten by Lewis Gilbert in the final reckoning. But isn't that amazing? 3 of the top drivers from the junior brigade last year are in the top 6 of the grid in senior, just 2 meetings later. Not bad, is it? Matilda Olsen, 7th on the grid, on the inside line of row 4, alongside Callum Bradshaw, the former junior world champion. And Callum Bradshaw is there on row 4. And he, of course, was in the top 3 of his first race in IAME Euro Series as a senior. Then Juan Carlos Hernandez, who lines up 9th on the grid on row 5, alongside Nick Smith, who is there for the Ferry Smith Racing Team, on 10th position on the grid. Then it's Jan Kalmet alongside another of the junior contingent from last year, Sam Balota, who was very nearly runner-up in the standings last year. The Belgian had bad luck in Castelletto, and that's what wiped it all away for him. But he starts 12th on the grid, so another talented junior up in the senior brigade in 2019. Then we have Kevin Stahauer and Niels Koelen, an all-Dutch 7th row of the grid, with Liam Hessemans, another one of the Holland sensations. Alongside him on the grid is the Filipino racer Eduardo Cosateng, and he'll be there on the 8th row of the starting grid. And then we have Harry Platten, the British talent, alongside the Swiss Danny Bundschuh. And then it is Bo Heimans, who lines up beside Tom Nellison. Henki Kalteren is beside the Singaporean Alexander Wang. And then it is Laurent Renarts, the Belgian, beside Guillaume Crespin, the Frenchman. And then we have Enzo Juliet, along with the Dutch lady on the Beryllart chassis, and that is Nina Potov. Then it is Mathieu Herbe for the 14th row of the grid, alongside Alex Pendlebury. Then it is Roman Tavitian and Dan Steenman, and then it is Thomas Tavitian alongside Rivki Rakamulya. A very talented grid of drivers in Senior X30 for 2019. The calibre has raised even higher than last year, and a lot of the same names have returned, of course. So the battle is going to be very tough, with a lot of the stars from last year joined by the junior talents from 2018. These first couple of races are always going to be an interesting challenge to see which of the juniors can storm up to challenge the senior brigade. And it is going to be entertaining to see if the Boyers, Lloyds and Gilberts of this world can mix it regularly and consistently with the Kimbers, Van Splinterens and Ravenscrofts of this world. It's going to be very tight, very tough challenge. But when you mix the juniors from last year with the seniors of last year and throw them into the same category in 2019, you are sure of a whirlwind race meeting. And this is just the champions of the future to come. And that's what we love about this particular category. It really is sensational. So some brilliant battles on the rise and some absolutely sensational battles. A lot of support for drivers watching on the live stream. Nearly 200 people are watching along from various parts of the world. It's great to see such a fantastic battle being given the worldwide prestige and credibility it should have. And the champions of the future, IAME X30 Euro Series, totally deserving of the plaudits that it has been given from this first round of the championship. A massive thank you as well for the huge welcome once more from the Automobile Club of Belgium and the Karting de Fagnes circuit here in Mariembourg. It is always such an amazing place to come racing. I've fallen head over heels in love with the region, and it's absolutely wonderful. The scenery overlooking this Karting de Fagnes circuit is absolutely gorgeous, even looking out to the quarry just up the road from here. It's a wonderful European spectacle. The weather is gorgeous. There's barely a cloud in the sky at all, and the heat haze coming over the circuit is absolutely wonderful. We started the week very chilly, and now it is a very pleasant experience to be here today. Out come the drivers. 11 laps of the X30 Senior qualifying heat for Groups B and C await us. Lewis Gilbert on pole position from Philip Vava in second alongside him. Clayton Ravenscroft and Marty Boyer. Then Matteo Respatelli and Alex Lloyd. Matilda Olsen and Callum Bradshaw. Juan Carlos Hernandez and Nick Schmidt. Jan Kalmet and Samba Lota. Kevin Stahauer and Niels Kuhlen. Liam Hezemans and Eduardo Cosseteng from Harry Platten and Danny Bunshu. Bo Heimans and Tom Nellison. Then Hanki Kalteren and Alexander Wang. Lauren Reynards and Guillaume Crespin. Enzo Juliet and Nina Potov. Mathieu Erb and Alex Pendlebury. Roman Tavitian and Dan Steenman, and Thomas Tavitian and Rivki Rakamolya. It's not just a European series, it's a global international spectacle. They come from far and wide to race in the IAME Euro Series, and these guys really are champions of the future. Lewis Gilbert, Vava, Ravenscroft, Boyer, Raspatelli, Lloyd, Olsen, Bradshaw, Hernandez and Smith. What a talented bunch in that top 10. It's going to be an exciting battle, this one, for the next 11 laps, as the drivers will go round one more time for that rolling lap. They're warming up the tyres and brakes, making sure that the carbs and the engines are running on song, and then they'll come through onto the main straight once again, into the tram lines. They must not leave them until the lights go out, and then when they do, they can charge forward. 20 metres is the distance to get to that first corner. It's such a short run to turn one here at Mariembourg, although the lights do tend to go out at the first white line rather than the checkered flag timing beacon. But it's still a very tough run for the drivers as they go through turn one. We've seen some amazing battles through that first corner. In normal race trim, when you're single file, it's a very fast first corner. But when you're in a massive squabble through turn one, just getting through in one piece is an achievement. So the drivers now wending their way through the tight and twisty section of the circuit. It's a racetrack of two halves, I like to think, of course, with that first half being very fast and very flowing, and that second half full of tight, technical, twisty challenges. It makes setup very interesting, and this is a Marmite circuit, to coin a phrase from Great Britain. You either love it or loathe it, and it's a wonderful racetrack. A lot of the drivers in this field absolutely adore the challenge of racing here, and a win here means so much, not just to the local contingent, but to anyone who can take a victory in this field, at this circuit, in this spectacle. The stands are packed full of people, and we are ready to go racing again. Gilbert, Vava, Ravenscroft, Boyer, Raspatelli, Lloyd, Olsen, Bradshaw, Hernandez and Smith. Here we go. They're in the tram lines. It looks pretty calm and cool. I think that's going to be a start. Yes, it is. Away we go. And Gilbert blasts through to the first corner. Ravenscroft is going to tuck in, but not get the jump on Vava. Vava's going to try and cut through across on Gilbert. And from round the outside, look at Marty Boyer charging through to third position round the outside of Ravenscroft. Great move from Marty Boyer as the field tussles its way through to turn three, and there's a spin in the mid-pack. One of the KR Sports has gone around, and several karts are in trouble. Who started that? I think that might have been Eduardo Cosseteng, and there are now 6 drivers down there trying to get their karts going again. One of them's in the barriers a corner later. That looks to me like Fleming has gone in there. No, sorry, that might be Matteo Raspatelli. But we've got several drivers who've not come through. Oh, that's a game over for Nellison. Tom Nellison is out of the race and abandoned the kart where it is. All the other 5 have kept going. But Danny Bunshu has not gone very far into the race either. I'm not entirely sure that Danny Bunshu has actually managed to get out onto the track at all. So, a very dramatic first lap, but Gilbert leads the way. Vava, Boyer and Ravenscroft come next. Then it's Bradshaw from Niels Kuhlen. Matteo Raspatelli is still at the front end of the field, so it's not him that's gone. I think it's Kevin Stahauer, actually, that went off into the barriers at turn 4. So Stahauer is the one who's out of the race. And who were the drivers involved in that incident earlier on? Well, Tom Nellison is out on the spot, and the other 5 were Enzo Juliet, Mathieu Erb, Roman Tavitian, Rivki Rakamolya and Dan Steenman. So they were the 5 that went in there with Tom Nellison, and that was all started by a little bit of a spin from Eduardo Cosseteng. I think he just nudged the curb, and then all the drivers behind them basically had nowhere to go. But it's a big problem, in particular for Enzo Juliet, the Kart Republic France driver. I'm fairly sure that kart looks like it's crabbing in places. He did go right into the side of Cosseteng's kart, so the fact that he's still going at all is quite impressive. But Gilbert is leading, Philip Vava second, Marty Boyer and Clayton Ravenscroft are dueling for third. Then it's Callum Bradshaw in front of Niels Kuhlen, and then it is Matteo Raspatelli from Smith and Lloyd. Up the inside goes Ravenscroft, third position, nice move on Boyer. And now from his point of view, the race starts here as he charges his way forward. So, Gilbert, Vava, Ravenscroft, Boyer, Britain, Spain. Fifth place is Callum Bradshaw. Then Niels Kuhlen in 6th place from Raspatelli, Lloyd, Schmidt and Matilda Olsen in front of Juan Carlos Hernandez and Jan Kalmet. Sam Balota 13th at the moment in front of Bo Hymans, Alex Wang, Lauren Reynards, Liam Hesmans, Guillaume Crespin and Nina Petov. And then it's Eduardo Cosseteng, who somehow is still going despite having the full force of being rammed into, purely not his own fault, by the way, by Enzo Juliet. Cosseteng got sideways, Juliet went into the back of him and it caused carnage. But fortunately, all of them except one have managed to get going again. Tom Nellison is on the sidelines. And then Danny Bunshu didn't start the race. Kevin Stahauer out in the first lap as well on a separate incident up at turn 4. So leading the race is Gilbert. Second is now Philip Vava. Ravenscroft, Boyer. And in fifth is Callum Bradshaw. This could be a pretty titanic fight for third place. You've got Ravenscroft, one of the most impressive drivers of the last 18 months. Marnie Boyer, FIA Karting Academy Trophy champion from last year, and certainly one of Spain's brightest prospects for the future. And in fifth place, Callum Bradshaw, former junior world champion, right in the mix as a senior and battling his way for supremacy. This is going to be epic to watch for third position. There are the trio in the twisty side of the circuit. Gilbert's broken clear in the lead from Vava. But Philip Vava, how much progress has that man made from the switch from his team from last year to move over to KR Sport? Vava looks like a completely different race driver compared to last year. He is absolutely stellar. He looks amazing this year. And Philip Vava is smooth, confident, dependable, reliable. He's just so smooth. Vava looking absolutely superb. And Bradshaw makes the bid to get past Boyer and tidies up the move nicely. Gestures to Boyer. Come on, let's go after Ravenscroft. So Bradshaw in P4. Nice move on Boyer. And Niels Kuhlen is going to close up. Keep an eye on Kuhlen. He is yet again one of those drivers who just appears to get into the right place at the right time and make hay while the sun shines. He's doing an amazing job in sixth place here. And he's giving a lot of pressure to Bradshaw and Boyer. Niels Kuhlen definitely stepping up to the challenge. And he's right in there behind Marty Boyer. Is Niels Kuhlen going to make the move into the last corner? He did think about it, didn't he? He was never quite going to make that move stick, but he was definitely having a think. 6 to go for Gilbert. What a lead. He's managed to pull that out very rapidly in the first corner, made mincemeat of Vava on lap 1, and he's just pulled out a huge gap ever since. So a good run from Gilbert. Vava in second, Ravenscroft third, then it's Bradshaw, Boyer and Kuhlen. Behind them in 7th place, that is Matteo Respitelli trying to shake off Alex Lloyd. And then there's a 4-way scrap for 9th, led by Juan Carlos Hernandez. Then Nick Schmidt. Then Matilda Olsen. Matilda Olsen's trying to come through on the inside because there also is Jan Kalmet. So a very tough battle there for 9th position between those four. Trying desperately to close up on the drivers in front. Namely Raspatelli and Lloyd fighting for 7th place. So Ravenscroft still in front of Bradshaw. This could be an interesting fight, actually, between these two over the course of the season. Ravenscroft and Bradshaw, two of Britain's strongest international talents of the last few years. And it'll be sensational to watch them battle. So let's see how they continue to progress as Alex Lloyd makes a very late lunge at turn 1 on the inside of Raspatelli and finally completes the move into turn 2. That was pure determination from Alex Lloyd to get through in a 7th place. Good work. And the Dan Holland racing driver once again picking off another opponent as a senior. He was one of the best Junior X30 drivers I've ever seen. And obviously last year taking the IAME International Final Championship win. A brilliant effort from him. And he was the vice champion here in the IAME X30 Euro Series. But as a senior, he's got to do it all again. And he's doing a fantastic job of it. But Lewis Gilbert is leading the way comfortably. This is an amazing run for the Scotsman. The Dalry Diamond is shining bright in the lead of this race as he comes down the straight once more. 4 to go, and Philip Vava just can't stay with him. Ravenscroft is still getting some help from Bradshaw. Niels Kuhlen is now in front of Marty Boyer. So Niels Kuhlen making the move to get into 5th position and chase down the two Brits in front. Ravenscroft and Bradshaw 3rd and 4th, then Kuhlen, then Boyer. And then it's Alex Lloyd in front of Matteo Raspatelli. And in 9th, it is Juan Carlos Hernandez in front of Nicky Schmidt, I think that is. So a very good performance there. Lewis Gilbert still leads. Persistence clearly paying off at the front of the field for the Persistence Motorsport team. There's only 2 karts in that entire paddock for Persistence Motorsport. But when you've got Lewis Gilbert in your team, you're never going to be lower than the top 3. Gilbert running very well indeed at the front. Vava slowly falling into the clutches of the two Brits, Ravenscroft and Bradshaw. It's not going to be too long before Ravenscroft gets a move from Bradshaw as they go 3 laps to go now. Gilbert out in front. Varva is losing ground. And now Bradshaw's going to make a very late lunge on Ravenscroft, who comes straight back on the switchback. You're not going to catch Clayton Ravenscroft asleep like that, mate. Brilliant. That was a fantastic bit of dueling between those two. That's woken them both up. Now, we've had a yellow flag in the final corner. And I think we've just lost Roman Tavitian. So Tavitian, I think, is out of the race. I think we've lost one more, actually. I think Nicky Schmidt's gone. Nicky Schmidt was in 10th position. Yes, there's yellow flags waving at the final corner. So Nicky Schmidt, we think, has gone off at the final turn. Now, whether he was assisted or did it on his own, we don't know. But Nicky Schmidt, unfortunately, is now out of the race down at the final corner. That's a real shame. So Gilbert leads the way. Varva is second. Now, what's happened in the Ravenscroft-Bradshaw battle, because they seem to have fallen back off Varva a little bit more, and they've got Coolen and Boyer in tow. Ravenscroft defending with 2 laps to go for third place. He does not want Bradshaw or Coolen getting a breath. Coolen's going to try and make the move on the inside of Bradshaw. Bradshaw determined to chop him down. That was so tight between Bradshaw and Coolen. Edging his way to the inside line of Coolen. You're not getting by. Don't even think about it. And now Coolen loses a little bit of ground. Marty Boyer's going to try and come back at him. And that might just have given Ravenscroft the breathing space he needs to seal a third-place finish. But Lewis Gilbert out in front, looking so dominant. I can't believe this is his second meeting in Europe as a senior. He just looks so serene out in front. You always wonder, don't you, if moving from junior to senior is going to work. Is it going to be a flash in the pan, or are you just going to be struggling your way forward? I think all of the Gilbert contingent can now breathe a sigh of relief as he jumps away and is cruising out in front. 1 lap to go. Lewis Gilbert, whose hero in motorsport is Colin McRae, is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Worthy of him. Further back, Bradshaw's made the move on Ravenscroft. Coolen's going to come through on the inside line as well. And Boyer may get a jump to the inside, not with Ravenscroft chopping across round the outside. Now Coolen's going to make the lunge for Bradshaw. That was never going to work. The door closed rapidly. Now Boyer's going to try and use the momentum to come round the outside of Ravenscroft, who chops back across to the inside, gets 2 wheels on the dirt. Boyer's now going to dive for the inside line, and Ravenscroft has to settle with letting Boyer come through. Wow, Coolen a little bit naughty there, trying to go for a move that clearly wasn't on Bradshaw, and that's shaken up the momentum big style. But Lewis Gilbert is untroubled out in front. Philip Varva doing a fantastic job in second place, a real coming-of-age race for the Spaniard. But Lewis Gilbert comes through to take victory. The checkered flag flies, and the Dorite Diamond does it again. Lewis Gilbert, victorious. Philip Varva second. Callum Bradshaw third from Niels Coolen and Marty Boyer. Niels Coolen in front of Marty Boyer and Clayton Ravenscroft, who slips away to 6th place in the end. A rather unfortunate last couple of laps there from Ravenscroft. Lloyd in 7th place in front of Raspatelli. And then it is Hernandez in front of Calmet, Hymans and Alex Wang, who comes back brilliantly after his race 1 woes. Well, Lewis Gilbert doing a great job. Really, really stellar effort in the front end of the field. I don't think anybody ever had that one in doubt. Fantastic work from Lewis Gilbert, who takes victory in this heat, from Philip Varva and Callum Bradshaw, Niels Coolen and Marty Boyer, then Clayton Ravenscroft in front of Alex Lloyd and Matteo Raspatelli, Juan Carlos Hernandez and Jan Calmet, from Bo Heymans and Alex Wang, then Matilda Olsen and Eduardo Cosseteng, Lauren Reynards and Sam Balota from Harry Platten and Guillaume Crespin, Henke Kalteren and Nina Potov from Liam Hezemans and Alex Pendlebury, Thomas Davitian and Dan Steenman, Enzo Juliet and Rivki Rakamolia. And then the last man in was Matthew Erb with Nick Smith, Roman Tavitian, Kevin Stahauer, Tom Nellison and Danny Bunshu, all out of the race, unfortunately. A real shame and a real disappointment for those guys as their race came to an end very early on indeed. So, a dramatic start to the race, that's for certain for many drivers. A dramatic start to the weekend for a lot of drivers, but we've had some stellar racing. It is now time for our pause in proceedings. We will be going racing again at 20 to 2 local time, so we'll return on the live stream at 1:30 local time as we get ourselves ready for the second half of the day's action. So make sure you join us for it. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. We've got so much more to come from this first round of the IAME Euro Series Championship, where we will be crowning over the season the champions of the future.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio. Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.